Welcome, everyone. This is your friend, the DN WhatIf 2.0, here with another exciting fanfiction. Today, we're diving into the story of What If Deku Discovered a New Supermove? If you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fanfiction content just like this. Now, let's get started with the fanfic. My TikTok, love, I'm most active here, so feel free to message LMAO. Hello Class 1A. A voice who was identified as Nedzu said, catching the class's attention. As I'm sure you are all aware, classes have been cancelled for the next few days for you to test out Hatsume's recent invention. I'll let her explain. Right. Hatsume exclaimed, holding out what seemed to be a DVD. So this is going to show us an alternate reality. It should work with a normal TV, so I thought, why not the dorms? I think the main catalyst of this one is Izuku, so beware. Hatsume added with a wink at the end. May. Why me? Izuku said, a slight whining tone in his voice. It could have been anyone else. Beside the slight shock from his classmates at being so close to him, they were also curious. Well, you're the only one who would definitely say yes. Alright, whatever. Let's just get this over with, Midoriya said, taking the disc from Hatsume's hand and putting it in the player next to the TV. Chapter 1. Thick Thighs Save Lives. Oh, can't wait. Ashido said excitedly, lying down on Kirishima's lap. Yeah, me neither. Hagakure said, sitting down on the couch. Once everyone was situated and the teachers and pro-heroes were in place, Midoriya started the first part. In their second year at UA, all Hero Corps students were required to do a hero work study as part of their final exam for the first semester. So we are in our second year in this? Kaminari said, looking around at the rest of the class and Hatsume. I'm guessing so, Midoriya replied, smiling. It will be interesting to see what. It also had to be a different hero from both their internships and any previous work studies, to increase team building and the ability to think on the fly. Some students got offers, others picked from a list of heroes that had offered spots, but everyone picked a new agency to work with. The number 5 hero Rabbit Hero. Mirko had actually asked one student from 2A to come join her for a hero study. Does she usually not? Uraraka asked, looking to one of the teachers for an answer. Nah, I don't. I wonder why I did there, Mirko answered. It was unheard of. Mirko was famous for not being part of an agency and resolutely refusing to work in a team. But this year, she had extended an offer to one Izuku Midoriya. Naturally, he accepted. It wasn't every day that a top 10 hero even acknowledged students. Apart from All Might, obviously, Aizawa deadpanned, looking straight at Midoriya, raising his eyebrows slightly. Midoriya stuttered out, turning to All Might to see if he could help him out. Outside of internships and work studies, top 10 heroes rarely interacted with anyone outside their agencies or team-ups, being much too busy doing their jobs to just pop in on a class. But Mirko? The highest-ranked female hero in Japan? She had never so much as let up-and-coming heroes do internships with her, much less work studies. She was also the only top 10 to offer a work study this time around, the other top 10s either having already worked with Class A and B, or were too busy fighting increasing crime rates after All Might's retirement to take on a student. Naturally, Bakugo was said that Deku got an offer from a top 10, while he was stuck with number 23 pro hero MT Lady, despite Midoriya trying to say that MT Lady worked with both Kamui Woods and Edgeshot, who were both top 10 heroes, with Edgeshot even ranked above Mirko. I don't know if I should take offense to that or not, Lady said with a laugh. No, it's not you, Midoriya said. He just likes beating me. But that's not true, Deku, Bakugo said, pulling his arm from Midoriya's shoulder. It is, and you know it, Kaken, Midoriya joked, moving Bakugo's arm back where it was. Yamada turned to Aizawa to ask him a question. Have they always been like this? Yeah, Aizawa replied. But I didn't receive an offer from them, I received an offer from her. Bakugo had snarled before stomping off angrily. Midoriya knew for a fact that Bakugo hadn't been that angry at Kirishima after learning that his work study was with number 12 hero gang Orca, also ranked higher than MT Lady, but he didn't push the subject. Told you, Midoriya said, slightly proud that he was right. Fair enough, kid, Lady said. He just sighed and packed up his stuff. Given that she didn't have an agency, Midoriya would apparently be working out of her home. He had a sudden flashback to destroying Gran Torino's apartment, but thought that it couldn't possibly be that bad. At 8:53 the morning of his first day, he finally found the right place. He knocked on the door, which flew open to reveal Rumi Usajiyama in her civilian clothes, a toothbrush between her teeth. She looked Midoriya up and down. "You the hero student?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," answered Midoriya. "Don't call me ma'am, I'm only 27. "Okay, I was trying to be polite, lady," Midoriya said, looking at the pro-hero. "Yes, Mirko. That's in costume, call me Rumi if I'm in my civvies." "Yes, Rumi. Get in here." Midoriya scrambled inside, while Mirko Rumi went to the bathroom, presumably to finish brushing her teeth. She stepped back into the room, where Midoriya was nervously standing around. "Kid, I'm not gonna bite. Rabbits are herbivores, didn't you know? Sit down or something," she said, sitting down herself. Midoriya stiffly sat down, hugging his costume to his chest. Rumi eyed him up and down. "I watched the sports fest this year," she said. Midoriya pet his head. "Most heroes did. It's how they scouted for internships, work studies, and sidekicks." Midoriya had been defeated by Kurwaro in the second round of the 1v1s after he had used his quirk to control and use Midoriya's black whip against him. Rumi leaned forward. "I noticed something rather interesting about your quirk," she continued. "Oh no. Not another conspiracy theorist." "Who's the other one?" Yamada asked. "Todoroki." Almost everyone in Class 1A responded. "Right." He had enough with Todoroki calling him a love child, despite evidence to the contrary. "Love child? To whom?" Mirko asked, looking at Midoriya. "Oh, All Might," Todoroki replied. "Dead seriously." Mirko looked between All Might and Midoriya to see the differences and to see if she can see where Todoroki is coming from. "That move you used in the first 1v1 round against that beast-looking kid, what's it called?" Midoriya thought back to his battle with Shishida. He was using more of his shoot style. "Oh, I call it Manchester Smash." It was a super move where Midoriya jumped above his opponent and brought his foot down on their head. He was hesitant about using it, but he only used 10% and Shishida had been left with a minor concussion. He still apologized profusely. "I just noticed it was very similar to my Luna Fall super move. I've never seen a quirk similar to yours. It's very adaptable." "Thank you," said Midoriya, not quite sure where this conversation was going. "I didn't think much of it, but All Might did. He called me up after the sports fest, asking me if I noticed the similarities. Then he asked me if I'd consider taking you in for the hero work studies. I wasn't about to say no to him, so I accepted." "I'm not following," said Midoriya. Rumi sighed. "Kid, All Might said you're pretty behind in developing your super moves, especially since you've changed your entire fighting style since last year. I'm gonna train you to use similar super moves that I do." Midoriya sat stick straight in his chair. He'd assumed that due to rising crime rates in Hiroshima and a lack of other heroes nearby due to Mirko's lone wolf style, she'd thrown a dart at a board of UA students for some support and it happened to land on Midoriya. But this was infinitely better. "You mean, I'll get to train under you?" "Yeah, be proud. You're my first ever student. This is literally the coolest thing that's ever happened to me, thank you so much, Rumi." "Apart from meeting All Might, sorry Mirko," Midoriya chimed out with a small laugh. "It ain't all good, kid," Mirko said. Rumi stretched, her ears stiffening in a stretch too. "Don't mention it. What time do you have to go back to the dorms again?" "Mustatafu is a little over 3 hours by train, and curfew is at 11, so I need to leave by about 7 to make it in time. I'm yours until then." Rumi looked at the clock, which showed that it was only just past 9 in the morning. She looked at Midoriya with a brow quirked. "You woke up at 6 to get here?" 5, actually, I didn't take into account how long it would take me to find your apartment." "Well, I hope you slept on the train, because I'm gonna kick your butt until 7, she said, punching her palm with an excited grin. Midoriya withheld his groan, far too used to pro heroes wanting to beat him into the ground. Instead, he chose to smile and punched his own palm. Let's do this. Official Class 2A. Ooh, do we get to see each other in the class chat? Azui said, intrigued. Maybe. Will it be as chaotic as ours? Uraraka commented. Hopefully. At least it proves that you are not the only ones who act like little sheets, Ida said. Oh, you know that's not true. Shiro said, looking at the boy with slight puppy eyes. Whatever, Ida replied, rolling his eyes at Shiro. Are they usually like this eraser? Emilady asked. Yes, absolute nightmares, he responded. Maybe I should get in contact with a few of them, they sound fun, Mirko said quietly. All the other teachers stared at her. All with the same thought. 8:37 a.m. Uravity, is Deku really doing his internship with Mirko? Red Riot, much to Bakugu's chagrin. Dynamite, shut the F up, shitty hair. Grape Juice, Mirko? Playboy Bunny Hero? Invisible Girl, just Bunny Hero, Mineta, no Playboy. Grape Juice, that lucky son of a bitch. Chargebolt, imagine a Mirko MT lady and Midnight team-up. Red Riot, they're all so manly, that'd be an awesome team-up. Grape Juice, don't even joke about that. Kaminari, that's something out of a dream. Creati, keep your hormones to yourselves, some of us are trying to work. Chargebolt, sorry Momo. Ah, fun times, Bakugu said. The first thing he had said this whole time. You've thought of this before? All Might asked nervously. Yeah, course we have. Bakugu said almost in a snarky tone. 7:32 p.m. Chargebolt, do y'all think Midoriya will get thighs like Mirko? Kaminari, why is that your thought? Kirishima asked, looking over at the boy. I mean, have you seen Mirko's thighs? Yeah. Now imagine that on Midoriya, Kaminari said in reply. He looked around the class to see if they agreed with him. Pinky, holy sheet, imagine Midoriya with Mirko thighs. Can't stop twinkling. Midoriya would look trace magnifique with a skirt if he got bigger thighs. You know, you would look good in a skirt, Aoyama said, smiling at Midoriya. Midoriya smiled at the class before shouting out, cross-dressing week? All of Class 1A agreed practically immediately after that. Pinky, that I suddenly can't stop thinking about bulky Midoriya in a skirt. Pinky, ask Josh please, he'd look so good. Tailman, as someone who uses their legs a lot for martial arts, thighs get muscular rather quickly. Sugarman, can confirm, thighs get bulky RQ. Froppy, they look good in skirts too, the UA uniform is surprisingly flattering. Chargebolt, okay, but can Midoriya get those thighs? Deku, she told me to bring exercise shorts tomorrow, so perhaps. Deku, also, I do not have the physique to rock skirts, my form is too rectangular. I disagree with other Izuku, I'd look amazing, Midoriya said in a fake sad voice while nodding his head. Yep. You'd look amazing, nerd, Bakugu said, hitting him on the head to stop what he was doing. Deku, Kaken would look better, he's got a tiny waist. Dynamite, what thief is that supposed to mean? Pinky, dot he do be right do. Pinky, Bakugu could rock a skirt. Uravity, that it. How was your first day? Deku, my thighs are destroyed and I think my rib might be cracked, but it was so awesome. Remember how I thought I was chosen at random to help out crime rates in Hiroshima? Well, turns out Mirko actually koi me and she's helping me with my super moves. Those. Dynamite, better late than never, we had our super moves figured out last year, dumbass nerd. Deku, well, I changed my entire fighting style. Kaken, what did you do? The teachers all laughed at that, sans Aizawa who just smirked. Dynamite, are you trying to get your butt beat, Deku? Deku, no comment. Ingenium, Midoriya, sometimes I worry about your masochistic tendencies. All Might spluttered out a pool of blood onto the floor after hearing that statement. The self-proclaimed Baku Squad burst out laughing. The pro-heroes looked genuinely concerned and Ida just raised his eyebrow at Midoriya, waiting for what he was going to say. Ida, he said, for emphasis. We talked about this before. While I definitely am one, I do not need to be called out regularly. At least you are acknowledging it, Ida said with his signature hand chop. Deku, my what now? Ingenium, you get hurt quite often and seem to enjoy it, and you like to aggravate Bakugu. Deku, he's an easy target. Dynamite, you know what if you Deku? Deku, I don't think I will. I'd never say that to you Kaken, Midoriya said, staring into Bakugo's eyes. Of course you wouldn't Deku, Bakugo replied, hitting Midoriya's neck. Dynamite, F off shitty Deku. Red Riot, you guys argue in person all the time, does it need to extend to the group chat? Deku, yes. Dynamite, it's better than getting suspended or house arrest. Red Riot, do you know what, that's true. Keep the arguments online. Deku, Kaken you are such a goody two-shoes. Simultaneously Class 1A nodded, well apart from Bakugo, but that was to be expected. Oh, if you too, Bakugo said, sticking his middle finger up to the majority of the class. Dynamite, staying online as soon as you get back 1v1 me, ground delta. Ingenium, as class rep I'm going to have to say no, Bakugo. Dynamite, Spfeforize. Dynamite, Deku. Dynamite, fight me. Deku, no thanks, Kaken, I have to prove to Ida that I'm not a earphone jack. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Creati, I'm so glad my phone is on silent most of the time. 10:17 p.m. Uravity, can we go back to the part where Deku has a cracked rib? I think we're over that already. Other Uraraka, Jiru stated. Deku, Mirko has quite the kick, let me tell you. Uravity, Deku, no offense, but what the F? Ingenium, this isn't helping your case, Midoriya. Deku, I'm not a goddamn MC. Deku, it was training. Deku, training. Shoto, can confirm, training with a pro can end with cracked ribs. Shoto, example 1 being my dad. Todoroki looked over to Midoriya, who was already spitting out word vomit. I told you I was working on it. What could he possibly be working on? Mirko asked. Probably a way to take down Endeavor, Aizawa said casually, like it wasn't hard to take down the number 1 hero. 10:20 p.m. Invisible Girl, now we don't have time to unpack all of that. Pinky, Todoroki do be traumatized though. Ingenium, Todoroki, there is a school-sanctioned therapist if you need to talk. Shoto, no thanks. Dynamite, who cares about Candy Cane's trauma? Go leave to sleep. I can't sleep because of the incessant buzzing. Pinky, good. Dynamite, you wanna die, raccoon eyes? Pinky, no dejects, I value my life. Pinky, target Mido, he doesn't. Hey, I do care about my life. Midoriya whined out at the other Ishido. Only when we came into your life though, Hagakure said with a laugh at the end, only so she sounded nicer in her statement, no matter how true it was. Deku, I didn't need to be called out like this. Ingenium, so that was the first part. Hatsum exclaimed, standing in front of the TV screen. Well, I didn't expect for this class to be this close to begin with, Mirko said. Though I may need to snatch the green-haired kid to teach. All right, Hatsum said in excitement. Let's start the second part. Chapter 2, Thick Thighs Save Lives. Midoriya spent most of his time doing leg workouts in Mirko's personal gym while Mirko did actual hero work. Occasionally they'd SWH and Midoriya would patrol or do paperwork. It was the worst part about being a hero while Mirko worked out, Midoriya having strict instructions not to use his arms when he was out and about. She had shown him several types of simple kicks, and how to use the best angles of the both to get the most force out of a kick. It was honestly a good challenge. He was so used to using his arms that he actively had to think about using shoot style, and he'd only ever learn punches, as All Might didn't really use his legs. Doesn't mean you should learn from me, young Midoriya, All Might said. Mirko had also banned the use of his other quirks, and said that the work study was all about the shoot style. Other quirks? Azui asked, looking at Midoriya. I don't know about that, Azui, Midoriya replied nervously while eyeing All Might. He looked back and shrugged at the younger boy slightly. He had already gotten pretty used to Black Whip, but since then 3 more quirks had shown up. 7th user Nana Shimura's Float, 6th user En Smokescreen, and 4th user Hikage Shinomori's Danger Sense. He couldn't really turn off Danger Sense, but other than that he avoided using Black Whip and Smokescreen. What? Practically all of Class 1A shouted. It isn't every day that you find out that your classmate may have more than one hidden quirk. Never mind. I don't need to explain myself to you, Midoriya started to say, before deciding it wasn't worth it. He spent a few days like that, increasing the strength of his leg muscles and engraving different types of kicks into his muscle memory. You know, said Rumi, when Midoriya returned from patrol one day. I don't really get why you wear those baggy briefs. The extra fabric is always getting caught in something. It's why I scrapped having briefs in my hero costume 3 months into my first year. Midoriya flushed a little. I don't really feel comfortable otherwise, he said tentatively. Rumi shook her head. Never mind that, I want to show you Luna Arc, as it's the most similar to Luna Fall. Get changed then get over here and make it snappy, kid. Midoriya quickly shimmied out of his costume and into a pair of his shorter running shorts, having run out of his more comfortable basketball shorts. Kaminari had shorted the washing machine before he rushed to her side. Too many times to count, Shiro said, glaring at Kaminari. Your class is an absolute mess, Shoyuta, Yamada said. I'm aware, Hizashi. So, Luna Fall and your what was it called? Manchester Smash? Whatever, anyway, both are about dropping the heel from above, but sometimes you're on the ground, or you can't get in the air, so what do? Axe kick them from their level instead of above them? Good answer, Kit. Luna Arc is an axe kick from even ground. Now do 1,000 axe kicks on each leg. Don't activate your quirk though, I want to see how tough your real muscles are. Ah geez, she was gonna kill him. 1,000 kicks aside? He didn't complain, knowing it to be a pointless endeavor, and merely did as told. He could have sworn she was laughing at him. He had barely gotten started when a thundering boom sounded in the distance, closely followed by a tremor shaking the apartment. Midoriya looked at Rumi, who had already ripped off her sweatpants and sweatshirt to reveal her hero costume. Can I help? He asked. Mirko nodded with a snort. It's your work study, kid. Just remember, no arms or other quirks unless necessary. It's probably just a low-grade villain. We'll kick his butt? Sounds like a plan, Mirko. They both leapt out the window and bounded along the street, Mirko's massive leaps just barely being matched by Deku's speed. They reached the source of the explosion, an office building downtown where some guy was cackling maniacally on the roof, shrouded in smoke. Most of the windows on the lower floors were blown out, fire lighting up the sides of the building. It looked like it would collapse at any moment. The upper floors looked more stable, but if the bottom floors went, the top floors would follow rather quickly, due to, well, gravity. Mirko gave Deku a sidelong glance. Office building in the middle of a weekday, she said leadingly. Probably civilians inside, finished Deku. A police officer noticed them and ran up to them. Mirko, thank goodness you're here, he said. What's the situation, Copper? She asked. We don't know, we think an employee blew a fuse. How many civilians inside? We don't know that either. Building codes state that max occupancy is about 2,000, but that's because there's a ballroom for guest speakers and the like, so it's likely closer to 900. It's also the lunch break, so many of them are likely already out of the building. Mirko swore. That's still a lot of civilians for 2 heroes and some cops with an active villain. Is the fire department on the way? Yes, They're about 2 minutes out. Mirko cracked her neck, then her knuckles, then stretched her legs. She looked at Deku. What's your hero name, kid? Deku. Like useless. Midoriya turned around to see most of the pro-heroes looking right at him. He smiled weakly before attempting to protest that it was alright with him and that was why he chose it. While this was a complete and utter lie, no one else had to know that. It's a long story. Well, Deku, I'll handle the big baddie. I want you to use your black tendril thingy to get civilians out. Capice? Yes, Mirko. With that, they burst into action, Deku using One for All to clear debris, and using Black Whip to nab civilians. There were surprisingly few in number, likely most of them having gone out for lunch. Working from the bottom of the building up, Deku was able to use One for All at about 50% consistently, using his extra speed to zip up and down with civilians in tow. You did it, Aizu, Kirishima said happily, his eyes still on the screen. I guess I did, Midoriya said in reply, even though there was no question. He laughed slightly, leaning back into Bakuga's touch. He worked alongside the fire department and the police to get everyone out safely. He finally got to the top floor, which seemed to be empty, due to many of the civilians traveling to lower floors to escape from the villain just above them. There was extra debris from Mirko's fight on the roof, so he couldn't quite tell if anyone was left. He called out anyway just to check. "Is there anyone still here?" he yelled. "I'm a hero, I'm here to get you out." Sure enough, he heard a faint call of, "Over here." He rushed over, where a woman with deer legs was trapped under rubble, a stack of desks and chairs crushing her hooves. Activating 45%, he heaved the pile up and off of her and picked her up. There was another rumble, and the building started to shake. Deku heard a yell of, "Luna ring," and some cracking noises, before the ceiling started to crack, dust and bits of debris dropping on them. Deku cursed internally, but he hid his panic and smiled at Dear Lady. Mirko had used one of her super moves, and it had clearly compromised the already teetering structure. "It'll be okay, miss, we'll get out of here." Dear Lady didn't say anything, but her grip around Deku's neck tightened. He looked around. The way he'd come in was blocked, a larger chunk of ceiling having wedged itself the doorways. Midoriya also couldn't see a fire exit, but the lower parts of the ladder had been blown off the building in the initial explosion, and Deku had definitely seen Mirko kick part of the upper ladder at the villain, so that wasn't even helpful. His eyes landed on the window. This high up, they'd be reinforced against high wind speeds and other weather conditions. They also wouldn't open very far, if at all. However, they were still made of glass, which was easier to break than concrete, and Mirko hadn't said anything about needing to use a super move on a living opponent. He adjusted Dear Lady in his arms, covering her head to prevent any more injuries to befall her. He activated One for All at 55%, just to make sure he broke the glass. He felt his bones creak, but he ignored it. A name, he needed a name. Okay, it was really just a lower variation on his Manchester Smash, so logically, Low Manchester Smash. He yelled as he brought his heel down on the window, a perfect imitation of Mirko's Luna arc. It shattered, leaving a hole for Deku to leap through. Activating Float, he quickly lowered himself to the ground, landing with a small thud on the ground. He handed the Dear Lady off to the paramedics and looked around. There were quite a few extra civilians Deku didn't remember seeing earlier, as well as a few people with distinct rabbit footprints in their chests and backs, who were all handcuffed. Deku looked around for Mirko. The bunny hero landed next to Deku with a large thump, handing an unconscious man who Deku recognized as the smoky guy from earlier to the paramedics. She was muttering angrily to herself, her foot thumping unconsciously. Deku barely caught what she was saying. "Employee my but that was a whole FING union with hostages to boot. Employees, plural would have if prepared me better." So that explained the extra people, and what had taken her so long. Deku smiled at her. "Good work today, Mirko. Everyone's out of the building." Mirko snorted. "I'm the number 5 pro hero. As if I'd let disaster happen right in my city." "Good work anyways," Deku said. He held out his hand for a fist bump, which Mirko reluctantly took. "You still gotta do those axe kicks," she said with a rather evil-looking grin. Midoriya's smile dropped. "You're not serious." "Get to it, Kit." Deku sighed. "You got it, boss." "I love their dynamic." Ishido cheered out, staring at the screen, intently taking everything in. Mina Ishido created new chat. Mina Ishido added 19 people to chat, removed Izuka Midoriya from chat. Mina Ishido renamed chat to Thighs Sculpted by God. Mina Ishido renamed himself to Dekusimp. "I am indeed, sorry Ijiro," Ishido said, looking towards Kirishima in the last half of what she said. No, go for it. It would be a bit hypocritical if I didn't let you," Kirishima laughed out. "At this point the whole class is simping." Thighs Sculpted by God. 1:16 p.m. Dekusimp. "Holy shit, you guys need to see this." Dekusimp. img.midithdes.jpg. Dekusimp. So apparently Midoriya rushed to apprehend a villain. Dekusimp. And he didn't have his usual costume. Dekusimp. Look at his thighs ssdvd. Toru Hagakure. Oh my god. Mashireo Ojiro, he bulked up RQ. Momo Yaoyorozu, wow, those look like solid muscle. That's impressive. Rikido Sato, agreed. Denki Kaminari renamed themselves to Shocked. Shocked, holy FING sheet. Shocked, Mito's thighs could kill a man. Depends on who the man is, to be fair, Todoroki commented. Not even going to deny it half a half? Bakugo asked, titled his head to the left slightly. No. Yuga Aoyama, instead of a skirt, shall we figure out how to get Midoriya to change his hero costume into a leotard? Yuga Aoyama renamed themselves to Can't Stop Looking. Katsuki Bakugo, the nerd is way too kid-friendly to have a revealing costume, never gonna happen. Well, of course. Doesn't mean I wouldn't wear one for you in private, Aoyama, Midoriya said, winking at the end. He watched as a few people looked stunned, mainly the pro heroes, but a few members of the class was sprinkled in. Eijiro Kirishima renamed themselves to Rock Solid Thighs. Rock Solid Thighs. That's so who's gonna ask Midoriya for his workout routine? I'd give it to you whenever you want. Deximp, no. Then he'd know. Mashireo Ojiro, know what? Dekusimp, he'd know that we know about his thighs. To continue to see them, we must not acknowledge it or he'll get embarrassed. Dekusimp, like look at yesterday's chat, he didn't think he'd look good in a skirt. Dekusimp, he's also got that whole things about his scars. Dekusimp, so therefore we must simp in secret. Katsuki Bakugo, speak for yourself, dumbass. Shocked. Did Bakugo just admit he'd simp on main? Katsuki Bakugo, that's not what IF meant, dunce face. Katsuki Bakugo, who'd like that nerd in the first place? Dekusimp, me? Shocked, me too. Can't stop looking. Chako Uraraka renamed themselves to Starstruck. Starstruck. D-simp for Deku on main. Katsuki Bakugo, f off, you extras. Rock Solid Thighs, okay, but bro, look at the pic and pretend it's not Midoriya. Katsuki Bakugo, I may see your point, but that doesn't mean sheet. Honey please, when do you not simp on the main? Midoriya joked, pulling Bakugo by the hair so he would look into Midoriya's eyes. Ooh, go Midababe. Hagakure squealed out with a big smile on her face. The rest of the class just stared. I mean, what else was there to do? They all wanted to be in Bakugo's current position. Rock Solid Thighs renamed Katsuki Bakugo, In Denial. In Denial renamed themselves to Woof. Tenya Ida, goodness, Midoriya's thighs are quite large. They may rival Shoji, Azui, and Sato's. Meza Shoji, you'd be correct. My thighs aren't that big, it's mostly my upper body. Midoriya's quads are something else. Rikido Sato, same here, I focus a lot on my upper body. Tsu Azui, I have literal frog legs and I think Midoriya is already quite close to reaching my level of muscle. Tsu Azui, and how many times do I have to say it? It's Hisu. Tsu Azui renamed themselves to Tsu. Official Class 2A. 1:22 p.m. Froppy, Midoriya, you made it on the news. Froppy, congrats. Pinky, good work, man. Ani-man, congratulations. Creati, as expected of Hero Core students. Chargebolt, way to rep 2 in Midoriya. Thighs sculpted by God. 6:07 p.m. Shoto Todoroki, do I even want to ask what this chat is about? No you don't, you should just know that it's there for a good reason, Ishido said to the Todoroki on the screen. I wonder if Midoriya will find out about this chat at any point, Yamada said. I mean, I probably will, to be fair, if they're on there. Phones and not in the main chat, it'll be pretty noticeable, Midoriya commented as a reply to present Mike. Deximp, just scroll to the top, bro. Tokoyami Fumikage, I was afraid to ask, thank you Todoroki. Tokoyami Fumikage, my work study ended for the day and this chat had 792 messages. Deximp, Alsrate. 6:09 p.m. Shoto Todoroki renamed themselves to Spontaneously Combusted. Spontaneously Combusted, my sheets are ruined. Okay Todoroki, I see you, Juro said, with a laugh looking at the real Todoroki who was a shade of bright red. That's not fair Jiro. Todoroki said with a pout on his face. Let me simp for Midoriya in peace. And it's not like I would burn the whole building down. I mean, Kirishima said, stressing the last word for a lot longer than it needed to be. Minoru Mineta, did you SRSLY just JRK1 to our classmate? Even I haven't done that. Kyokuju, no, perv, read his name, he set his sheets on fire. Minoru Mineta, that makes much more sense. Kyokujire renamed Minoru Mineta to Gutterhead. Gutterhead, sorry. Starstruck, no you're not. Deku Simp, no you are not. Kyokujire, no you're not. Tokoyami Fumikage, there is quite a lot of appreciation for Midoriya in this chat. Deku Simp, okay, it may be excessive, but thighs asked fault. Tokoyami Fumikage, I didn't say there was too much, just a lot. Rock solid thighs. We gotta appreciate Midoriya more often. Off. No if we don't. Rock solid thighs. Bakugu, there's already a secret GC simping over your pecs. This one is for Midoriya, let him have this. Ooh fun, Midoriya commented. Maybe we should make some of these chats here. I'm down. Why the f not? Foff, there's AF what now? Deku Simp, Kirishima you snitch. Off, you know about this? Rock solid thighs, ah? Hantasiro, Kiri, Bakugu might actually be right when he calls you hair for brains. Hantasiro renamed rock solid thighs to Simp for brains. Simp for brains, I hate that you're right. F off, let's get back to the F bit about AF's secret group chat. Deku Simp, I suddenly have a lot of HW to do. Simp for brains, me too. Hantasiro, me too. Thoff, I know where you a-holes live. Gutterhead, just take the compliment and go, I know there's no GC about me, feel honored that you have one. Tough grape. Gutterhead, noted. Spontaneously combusted. This raises the question of who else has one. Momo Yaoyorozu, I promise there's just the two. Toru Hagakure, but what about the ones for Toto asked, Kshfady up. Toru Hagakure, this is Mina, Toru lost phone privileges LMFAO. Momo Yaoyorozu, this group chat and Bakugu's are the only secret chats. I very highly doubt that last statement, Yaoyorozu, Ida said, turning to look towards the girl. I think there'd be one for Todoroki at the least. Yes I agree, Yaoyorozu responded. Chapter 3, Thick Thighs Save Lives. You know, you were totally right, said Midoriya the next day, entering the apartment and collapsing onto Rumi's couch. You're gonna have to be a bit more specific, kid, I'm right about most things, she replied from the kitchen. Midnight looked over at the Mirko in real life and giggled a little bit about what her on-screen double had said. Really? Hey. I usually am, Mirko snapped back in a light-hearted tone. Using shoot style in running shorts was way easier than having breathes. Sometimes my breathes explode on me, like in my 1v1 battle with Todoroki last year, but that doesn't happen with the shorts. Of course it doesn't, why do you think I wear a leotard? The SEC appeal? Snorted Rumi, walking into the living room holding a plate of salad that was stacked way too high to be possible. Midoriya blushed a little, not answering. Rumi groaned. Why does everyone think that? She complained. Midoriya shrugged, unsure of how to answer. Rumi just shook her head and changed the subject. Are you going to put in an official request for a costume change? She asked. Midoriya shrugged again. I still think you should, Bakugu said, ruffling the hair on Midoriya's head. I don't know Kaken, Midoriya said, pouting. I don't know. I still want to be a kid-friendly hero, you know. Rumi snorted. All Might and Endeavor both have skin-tight bodysuits, and so does Kamui Woods. You wearing shorts only ruins your kid-friendly image only if you're a woman. Misogyny at its finest, she said with a laugh. Midoriya nodded, knowing she was correct. Rumi nudged a piece of paper towards him, one that had his new workout schedule scribbled on it. You can think about costume changes while you're bulking up. Midoriya winced at the schedule, the addition of practicing both types of Manchester Smash making his legs ache just by looking at it. Midoriya knew that he wouldn't be able to feel his thighs by the end of the workout, but he merely nodded. No use in arguing about it. He came in the next few days experimenting with a few different types of shorts. There were way more types than Midoriya knew existed. Basketball shorts, cargo shorts, running shorts, board shorts, tennis shorts, bike shorts, spandex shorts, skirts, and more. Midoriya quickly crossed board shorts and skirts of the list of shorts to test out, neither of them being much of his style. Cargo shorts were closest to his street style, in fact he had quite a few in his closet, but if his fight with Bakugo at ground beta was any indication, they weren't all that good for exercise or fighting. He only really owned basketball shorts and running shorts for exercising purposes, so he alternated using them just so he could exercise in them while experimenting with how they felt while using shoot style. He made sure that he was wearing his usual breathes or basketball shorts whenever he went in public, as he still wasn't quite comfortable enough showing all that much skin. The office building had been a fluke, not having had enough time to change into his costume. He had seen people on social media thirsting over his legs, and didn't really know what to make of it. He didn't understand the appeal. His legs weren't that cool, not compared to most pros, or even Azui in his class. Not even a week after the office building incident, and Mirko was showing him another super move. In the street, no less, the two of them fighting a cloning villain that could make illusory copies of himself. Oh, perfect time for a lesson. Deku, watch me, yelled Mirko. Teaching a super move mid-battle? Was she crazy? That was rhetorical. Of course she FNG was. I'm bet on it, kid, Mirko said to the green-haired boy. Midoriya looked back at her and responded. Course Mirko, Midoriya said dramatically. Mirko jumped in between two of the clones. Luna ring, she yelled, before jumping into a cartwheel. As her legs went up she dispelled one of the clones, and as they came down she dispelled the other. She roundhouse kicked a third before turning back to Deku. It's a cartwheel or an aerial. Legs extended. Used for when you're surrounded and need to take out multiple opponents at once. You try, she yelled. Deku nodded. He could do that. Probably. He kicked another clone, which the villain was not seeming to run out of. Deku really needed to figure out which one was the real one. The worst part about super moves was naming the DMED things. Deku knew that some of his classmates had ridiculously long names for them like Heaven-Piercing Ice Wall, Seriously Todoroki? And some have really ominous ones like Tokoyami naming one of his Ragnarok. Like the end of the world kind of Ragnarok. Deku had named all of his super moves after All Mights, which all followed the same theme of American State or City Smash. As a result, Deku had spent way too much time as a child researching the United States and some of its biggest cities. As you do, Kirishima said. Yeah, it's why I'm fluent in English, Midoriya said smiling. And by extension, why Kaken is pretty good at it too. Yep. Wouldn't be here without you menace, Bakugo said, leading further into Midoriya's chest. Love you too, Kaken. Luna Ring was a circle, sort of, and in terms of America it reminded him of the 1893 World Fair, which had a massive Ferris wheel. There was really only one name he could call this super move after remembering that. Danger Sense told him that 2 clones were behind him, and 3 more circled in front of him. No time like the present? Chicago Smash, he yelled as he jumped into an aerial, making sure his legs were extended. On the upswing his legs hit the 2 clones behind him, 1 foot to the face each, and on his downswing he angled his leg to swipe through all 3 at once. The first 4 dispelled, but the 5th one had a much more solid feel. Deku kicked that body into the ground, and when it kissed the concrete, all the surrounding copies dispelled. He got the body. So this was the real one, said Mirko, standing over the knocked-out villain. Good work, kid, but your aerial was a little sloppy. We're gonna work on that more before teaching you the next move. Yes, Mirko, said Deku, hauling the villain onto his shoulder. Thighs sculpted by God. 4:20 p.m. Starstruck, guys. Starstruck. vid.midokandogymnastics.mp4. I mean, where did you think I learned half the stuff I can do? Midoriya chuckled. I don't know, man, Siro said. But it's still super impressive. The whole class agreed with him. Momo Yerozu. Oh my goodness, look at the flex of his quadriceps. Mashareo Ojiro. I think Midoriya may be more limber than I am, and I do martial arts. Koji Koda. Midoriya is so cool. Huff. The nerd isn't that great. Simp for brains. But Gang Orca is on a video call with him, lady. I can see you rewatching that video. Wow, it's called you out there. Ashido said, pointing at the TV before returning her hand to Kirishima's head. Shut it, Pinky, Simp for brains. It's only 12 seconds of shaky cam, goddamn. Deku simp, and yet. Deku simp. It is 12 glorious seconds of Mito doing a flip and picking up a villain twice his size like it's NBD. F off. Learn to spell glorious dus. Spontaneously combusted. I should invest in fireproof clothing at this point. Shocked. You mean you don't already do that? Spontaneously combusted. I usually have better control over my quirk. Tenya Ida. As cool as Midoriya looks, aren't you all supposed to be working? Deku simp renamed Tenya Ida to Stick, Meat Mud. Stick, Meat Mud. Not funny, Ashido, change it back. Deku simp. No can do, Prez. I gotta go back to work. Stick, Meat Mud. Ashido. Simp for brains renamed Stick, Meat Mud to Class Prez. Class Prez. Thank you, Kirishima. 5:37 p.m. Spontaneously combusted. IMG'd at midoriyabiceps.jpg. Spontaneously combusted. I just asked him how his day went. Spontaneously combusted. He sent back this captioned, "It went great." Spontaneously combusted. Is he trying to kill me? Yes, in fact I am Shudo. This is my villain origin story. Fear me, Midoriya said. His deadpan tone did indicate the extreme sarcasm that he intended. Midoriya turned to hear Aizawa snickering slightly. As long as I don't see any bodies, go for it, problem child, Aizawa said. If he wanted his amusement this way then he could get it. Deku simp, Skdalaj Diamond Todoroki give us some warning. Shocked. Was anyone gonna tell me that Midoriya is built like a FING tree and it isn't just his legs? OFF, you mean a FNG bonsai, nerd is short as F. Shocked. You know I didn't peg Bakugo as someone who knows what a bonsai is. Off. The F, is that supposed to mean? Off. Deku's mom has been growing a bonsai in honor of Deku ever since the nerd was born. Of course I know what a bonsai is. Deku simp. Sometimes I forget that you and Midoriya get up together. Deku simp, grew up. Deku simp, was he always that built? F off. No, nerd only started bulking up third year. He looked like a FING baby before that. F off. img.decumidalskull.jpg. Why did you have that picture saved on your phone? Uraraka asked, arching her eyebrow at Bakugo, who looked at her like she was crazy. You're saying you wouldn't? He retorted back. Touché. OFF, that's his yearbook pic from second year. Toru Hagakure. Oh my god, I wanna squish his whittled cheeks. Deku simp, get in line to... Shocked. Bakugo. Shocked. How many pics of Midoriya do you have? Off. Way too effing many. Deku simp. Are you gonna share them or what? Yes, share them with us all, Ida said. We all need to see younger Midoriya. F. You can earn them when you learn to be less FNG annoying. Shocked. Okay, but real talk, how often do we think Bakugo looks at them? Hantashiro. Considering I just saw him looking at them this morning, I'd say quite often. Puff, off soy sauce. Hantashiro. VNG off Aran, chill bro. Deku simp. Hoff. Pot meat F kettle. Deku simp. I'm not hearing denial. F off. I'm just tracking the Demon Nerd's progress so that he doesn't get better than me. Yeah sure babe, Midoriya said with a laugh at the end which made Bakugo blush slightly. He leaned further into Midoriya so that no one could see his face. Oh, baby, no need to be embarrassed. Shut up nerd. Bakugo said, almost in a pleasing voice. Though it was hard to tell as his voice was muffled by Midoriya's clothed chest. Deku simp, sure you are, Bakugo. Foff. Dai raccoon eyes. 8:12 p.m. Can't stop looking. Do you think Midoriya would notice if I slipped a skirt or two in his room? I still believe he'd look at Tonnant in one. Gutterhead, what is everyone's obsession with boys in skirts? Momo Yaoyorozu, I think you'd have better luck with a skirt. Midoriya seems to value practicality over fashion. Momo Yaoyorozu, if the rest of his wardrobe is any indication. Toru Hagakure, if you slip it into his laundry he might try to return it. Toru Hagakure, give it to him as a gift. Can't stop looking, but then he may hide it in his closet so as to never wear it. Toru Hagakure. I know. Let's invite him to girls' night and give him a makeover. We'll take pictures too. Aoyama, You should come as well. Deku simp, do y'all really think that'd work? Deku simp, I don't think he'd accept the invite. Starstruck, Deku said yes. Deku simp? How'd you manage that one? Starstruck, I promised him I'd buy him a limited edition All Might figurine with Todoroki's money. I mean, fair enough, Midoriya said. Spontaneously combusted. You didn't ask me? Starstruck, I'm sorry, Todoroki. Spontaneously combusted. I'll give you my dad's credit card, just make sure to buy the most expensive one you can find. Starstruck, LMAO, thanks, Todoroki. Gutterhead, can I come to girls' night? Starstruck, Gutterhead, aw man. 11:03 p.m. Mezu Shoji renamed themselves to Midoriya's leg press. Deku simp, do I even want to ask? Yes, you very much do, Ishido said at the screen in front of her. Midoriya's leg press. I just saw a copy of Midoriya's workout sheet he got from Mirko. Midoriya's leg press. His leg press is almost 2.5 times my weight. Midoriya's leg press. I weigh 94 kilos. Deku simp. Holy shit, a shekfuksajt. OFF. You fuckers are ruining my sleep schedule, but Deku can carry All Might in his muscular form. Oh yeah, I remember doing that. Midoriya said. Fun memories. He paused. Actually, never mind. Those months were torture. Oh wow. Someone said. F off. Fucker weighs like 255 kilos in that form. Deku simp. Bakugu, I have never wanted for anything from you. Off. That's a lie, you pink fucker. Deku simp. But please tell me you have a pic of Mito carrying All Might. F off. I'm not gonna give it to you fuckers until I get my FING sleep schedule back. Deku simp. Asilch socks, just mute the chat. Simp for brains. But then he'd miss all the pics of Midoriya's thighs, and he likes those pics. My thighs? I don't know what you see in them, but you like what you like, I guess. Midoriya said, looking between his thighs, Bakugu's thighs and his face. F off. Choosing death, are we shitty hair? Simp for brains. Bakugu, I can hear you coming to my room, what are you paquafib? Kajita speech? Deku simp. R.I.P. Kiri, he will be missed. Kyokajaru. Did you guys not know how strong Midoriya was? He once lifted the FNG fridge with no effort to get my phone out from under it. Deku simp. Ost fact, I remember that. Midoriya's leg press. Midoriya picked up the fridge? I can't even do that. Kyokajaru. We were literally gonna wait for Ochako, then he just lifted the goddamn fridge. Kyokajaru. Didn't break a sweat. FF. No FING way. You got proof FING Deku did that? Can't stop looking. I do. Can't stop looking. I'm that fridge.jpg. Doesn't compare to when he lifted up a sofa full of pro heroes because something fell under it, Aizawa said. Oops. I kinda forgot you were on the sofa, to be fair, Midoriya said, smiling. Deku simp. Bakugu be getting real thirsty on main. F off. So you wanna join shitty hair in hell? Harakun eyes? Deku simp. I'm just stating some facts here, B. F off. I just wanted proof. Deku simp. You wanted proof of Mito's strength. Rikido Sato. Would anyone mind if I saved all of these pics and videos to a Midoriya folder in my phone? Deku simp. You mean you don't already have one? Rikido Sato. I'm just gonna take that as a yes, Sato, that's fine. Rikido Sato. Looking at all these pics, we have a lot of them. It's kinda overwhelming my brain. Rikido Sato renamed themselves to Deku Rush. Deku Rush, not that I'm complaining. TBH, Midoriya's thighs give me something to work towards in my workouts. Fair enough. Someone said, and the rest of the class agreed. Midoriya's leg press, same. Mashireo Ojiro, same. Same. Deku simp, because as the name of the chat says, Midoriya's thighs are sculpted by God. Not sure it's by God because I very much done it myself, Midoriya commented as the third party came to an end. Chapter 4, Thick Thighs Save Lives. Midoriya, get over here, said Rumi a few days after the cloning villain. Midoriya looked up from where he'd been filling out an incident report to see Rumi in her workout clothes standing with a bunch of scarily realistic and buff dummies. Rumi smiled her trademark half-grin, and Midoriya resisted the urge to shudder. Oh no, what's she planning now? It was good that he already had exercise clothes on. I got another super move to show ya, but it's a tad lethal and kids like you always get a little antsy about death, she said. Midoriya gulped. He knew where this was going. Death is all cool with me, Midoriya said, winking at Mirko. Not like I've not done it before. You've killed someone? Mirko asked in response. Yeah. Oh okay, Mirko said, stopping after that. So you and me were pretty small, right? She said. Midoriya was 5 feet 6 inches and not growing, and Rumi stood at a solid 5 feet 2 inches, but she radiated energy like she was 6 feet 4 inches, so Midoriya didn't see the connection. Us little people have to use leverage to take down bigger opponents. I've found that this one works particularly well on mutant types, she said, gesturing to the rather bulky dummies. I call it Luna Tijeras, and basically what I do is mount their necks and yank back squeeze until their heads pop off. It's why I call it tijeras, which translates to scissors in Spanish because I'm cutting heads off like a pair of scissors, she said, making a snipping motion with her fingers. Wow, Midoriya, you should really add that move to your fight style in training, Todoroki said, in his usual deadpan voice. Most of the pro heroes stared at Todoroki wondering why and how he said that neutrally, especially with what he was implying in his words. Midoriya gulped and rubbed his throat nervously. He'd hate to be on the wrong side of that move. Here, let me show you, she said. In a flash, she leapt on the shoulders of a dummy, squeezed her legs together, then flipped backward, pulling the dummy's head off with it. The head went flying, and Rumi caught it casually. She pointed at Midoriya. Now, it's a really effective move for bigger opponents, which is why I'm showing you, but we gotta find a non-lethal method so that All Might doesn't skin me for mutton, she said. With that, she pulled out her phone, the tab opened to a martial arts tutorial video. These kinds of thigh takedowns exist in other martial arts, so draw inspiration from that. I have a patrol to do, so get to work. With that, Mirko was somehow already in her costume and out the door, leaving Midoriya with the dummies that looked eerily realistic in videos of martial artists. Maybe Midoriya should ask Ojiro to help him out. I'd be down, Ojiro said. Maybe we should. Let me how when you're free. By the time Mirko came back, Midoriya had figured out 2 approaches. One approach was from where Midoriya could attack from behind, using momentum to push the villain onto their stomach with Midoriya on top of them, or wrench backward like Mirko did, with less head popping. The thing about wrenching backwards was that he had to twist his body to end up on top, which he figured using Black Whip would help with. The second approach was basically the same 2 options as the first approach, with Midoriya attacking face-to-face instead of from behind. Rumi nodded appreciatively at his work. Clever of you to integrate your quirk into your super move, that makes them all that much better, she said. Luna Tijeras only works so well because of my ridiculous leg strength due to my quirk. Midoriya nodded. He understood. Float helped him get high enough for Manchester Smash, and Danger Sense had been helpful for knowing when the best moment was to use Chicago Smash. Rumi smiled in a way that let Midoriya know he was screwed. Now, Midoriya, I want all these dummies to be taken down in the next minute and a half using only you Luna Tijeras, she said. Midoriya looked at the room. There had to be at least 15 dummies in 90 seconds? He'd only have about 6 seconds a dummy. I believe in you, Mido, Ashido called out to the on-screen Midoriya. That looks so incredibly hard, Kaminari said, his face filled with slight shock. And your time starts now, yelled Rumi, starting a stopwatch Midoriya didn't even know she had. Using Black Whip and full cowling 20% to propel his momentum, Midoriya hopped from shoulder to shoulder of each dummy, using his thighs to yank them down and laying them flat. And time, he called as he sat on the last dummy. How'd I do? 78 seconds, not bad, she said. Wanna see if you can do it faster? Midoriya looked at the clock, which read 6, thank God. Actually, I have to go home. Train leaves at 6:55, he said. Rumi glanced at the clock and sighed. Alright then, Kit. Have a safe trip back. See ya tomorrow. Thanks, Rumi. Midoriya didn't have time to change out of his exercise gear, and he'd been wearing bike shorts as a test, so reluctantly. He grabbed his stuff and ran to the station. He ignored the women openly staring at him and giggling. Why were they making fun of him? It was just a pair of shorts. Goddamn, it wasn't that weird. He ignored them and stuck his earbuds in. He collapsed on the seat, ready for the 3.5-hour trip back. Wow, you are really FING oblivious in this one, Bakugo stated. I mean, it's not like it was a false claim. Yeah. Are you saying I shouldn't be here? Should I be what? Midoriya said, as he realized almost everyone was staring at him. He has suddenly moved from his position to one where he was practically on top of Bakugo. He opened his notebook and scribbled in his new Supermove. The top was blank. He still needed a name for it. Midoriya thought about it. What would make sense? Mirko used T. Harris because of the scissor-like motion of it, but how would that translate to an American state or city? There was Indiana with its steel mills, like how scissors are metal, but that was a stretch and didn't make much sense. The same went for Pittsburgh, a city in Indiana, and Michigan, where Detroit was, Detroit also being a massive steel production center. Metal was a no-go. He crossed out that part. Maybe something more related to the head/neck aspect? Perhaps a capital, like Indianapolis, to keep to the Indiana theme, or... Wow, he was stupid. The head of the United States, the capital, was Washington, D.C. A lengthy name for a Supermove, so perhaps he could shorten it to just DC Smash. Midoriya scribbled in DC Smash at the top of the page, then stuffed the notebook in his bag. He closed his eyes to nap a bit, when there was a thump on top of the train car. Midoriya's eyes snapped open. He watched as a muscular hand dived through the metal and ripped off part of the top of the train car. The passengers were starting to panic. Midoriya flashed his hero license and told them to get behind him. A shirtless man who could most accurately be described as some sort of cross between a gorilla and an ox dropped through the roof, with long muscular arms covered in dark coarse fur, while a pair of horns and a cow tail poked through his breathes. The gorilla ox growled and held up a threatening hand. I'm so scared, Ciro announced, his tone of voice being so incredibly flat. Hand over your valuables and I won't derail this train, he rumbled. Midoriya had to hand it to him, attacking the train at this point on the trail a good plan. This was generally the most crowded train of the day, at the longest stretch between stops, and there wasn't much help for miles around. Midoriya stepped forward and shook his head. I'm afraid I can't let you do that, mister, he said. The gorilla ox growled again. Looking to die, kid? Of course not, but I'm a hero, and I can't let you hurt these people. Midoriya yelled. With that, he activated 40% and went to punch the gorilla ox. The gorilla ox grunted, but otherwise didn't react to Midoriya's punch. He'd need to rethink his approach. He couldn't use Black Whip or Float easily, as they didn't do well in close quarters, and Smokescreen wasn't much help with all the wind rushing through the hole in the roof. An image of buff dummies and a new Supermove came to mind. Midoriya smiled. What perfect timing. He bumped full cowling up to 50%. He jumped into a run at the villain. DC Smash, he yelled, jumping and grabbing the handrails like how train dancers did, and swinging his legs around the gorilla ox's neck. He crossed his ankles to secure the hold around the villain's neck and launched himself backward, activating the smallest bits of Black Whip to rotate his body and slam the villain onto his back. The bike shorts actually helped him secure his grip around the neck as he yanked his body down, with no baggy breathes sliding around and making him lose friction and grip. Maybe he should really change his hero costume. Midoriya saw the wind get knocked out of the villain's lungs, and taking advantage of his surprised state, quickly rolled the villain onto his stomach, using Black Whip to hold his arms and legs in place. He looked up at the other passengers, and blew a strand of his hair out of his face. Can someone please let the conductor know what happened so they can notify station police at the next stop? And if anyone has strength-enhancing quirks, if I could ask you to help me hold this villain down, I'd be very appreciative, he said. There was a moment of silence, but an elderly lady stepped forward. I'll go tell the conductor. Thank you for your heroics, young man. May I ask your hero name? Yes. I'm Deku. I'm a second year at UA, he said. The villain under him struggled, but a few other people came forward to help hold him down. Thank you so much, Deku. I can't wait to see you as a graduated pro hero, the woman said kindly, before stepping in between the cars. So kind, Midoriya said. A few eyes were still on him as he was back in his original position. After the next stop, where the villain was safely dropped off, Midoriya collapsed in his seat. His phone buzzed. Official Class 2A. 7:38 p.m. Chargebolt. Mito, you're trending on social media again. Uravity, good work taking down that villain Deku. Ingenium, you were quite efficient, Midoriya. I'm proud. Pinky, love that new move. Dynamite, Deku, what the F was that super move? Deku, Rumi taught me. It's my new super move, DC Smash. Deku, she said it worked well on large mutant types. Grape Juice, you are on a first-name basis with Mirko? Teach me your ways. I'm good, thanks, Midoriya said, eyes straight into my Netta's on-screen clone. Tentacle, Midoriya, if you ever need help practicing it, I'm a large mutant type and I'd be happy to help. Sugarman, I'm not a mutant, but I'm big, so me too. Tsukuyami, I'm not sure if Dark Shadow counts, but he can be a large mutant type, so I extend my offer of help as well. Deku, thank you guys so much. That's so thoughtful of you. Thighs sculpted by God. 7:42 p.m. Shocked. Oh my F God. Shocked. That was the hottest thing I've ever seen. Midoriya's leg press. I don't think I've ever been so glad to be a mutant type. Starstruck. Guys, I think I may cry, that was so goddamn attractive. Shocked. You mean with how efficiently Mito took down that villain? Or the way he took charge after? It's funny to see you all simping after me in a different chat, Midoriya said. You all just use our main one here. Midoriya laughed a bit at the end before seeing all eyes on him again. What? It's not hard to tell when you are all asking me to help with homework, training, and literally everything else. Starstruck. Both, obviously, as well as that F Supermove. Starstruck. In those F shorts. Class press. Language, Uraraka, but that was quite impressive. Fumikage Tokoyami renamed themselves to Cult of Midoriya. Cult of Midoriya. I don't think I've ever seen Dark Shadow so excited to train. Cult of Midoriya. I don't think I've ever been so excited to train. Momo Yaoyorozu. I must have missed something. What happened? Shocked. It's all over social media. Shocked. Vit.traintakedown.mp4. Spontaneously combusted. You guys have to stop making me catch my clothes on fire. It's unbecoming. Momo Yaoyorozu renamed themselves to I'll make more shorts. I'll make more shorts. It's almost a crime that Midoriya doesn't wear shorter or tighter shorts more often. If you make them, I'll wear them. I'll make more shorts. Aoyama, you must help me replace Midoriya's wardrobe before he gets back. Can't stop looking. I'd like to burn some of his t-shirts. Thuff, just don't touch. The All Might stuff or you will die. True, Midoriya said, smiling at Bakugu as he reminisced of the time Bakugu broke one of them. Simp for brains, speaking from experience? OFF, it was the scariest moment of my life, including when I got kidnapped. I'll make more shorts. Duly noted. Deku simp. Am I the only one that thinks an angry Mito is hot? Like super hot? You are not, Ida said, nodding at the end as if to emphasize his statement. Shocked. He only really gets angry at villains and people who F with his stuff though. Toru Hagakure. I can't possibly be the only one seriously considering being a villain just so that Midoriya gets angry at me and also uses that DC Smash on me. You just have to ask, Midoriya said with a wink. He looked towards Hagakure and smirked slightly. Toru Hagakure renamed themselves to Invisa Simp. Deku Simp. Don't worry, you are not alone. Midoriya's leg press. That's why I offered to help with the practice. His legs around me, but respectfully as possible. Deku Simp, Shoji. You're so sneaky. I love it. Spontaneously combusted. How do I ask Midoriya to crack my head like a watermelon between his thighs without sounding crazy? Foff, don't ask the nerd weird sheet. OFF, but also, get that tail fucker to show him a move or two, he'll start using them all the time. Mashireo Ojiro, me? F off. Aren't you the FING martial arts hero? FING act like it and show Deku some FING judo moves. Deku Simp renamed Mashireo Ojiro to Thai-sensei. Deku Simp, please help us, oh great teacher. Thai-sensei, Sadly, I only know Taekwondo and Hapkido, and some Muay Thai. No Judo. Deku simp, that's so sad. Spontaneously combusted, I want to be pinned down like that villain. You're almost as perverted as the effing grape. Gutterhead, I take offense to that. Spontaneously combusted, please don't compare me to an actual perv. I'm just voicing my thoughts here. I'd never make Midoriya feel uncomfortable in person. If I ever had a problem it would be known, Midoriya said. I may be good at hiding shit but I won't hide a problem. Spontaneously combusted, and I'm just voicing what everyone's thinking. Deku simp, he does have a point. Deku simp, I'd like to be crushed between Midoriya's thighs as well. Gutterhead, if only he was a girl. Deku simp, we get it, you're straight, FAO. Deku simp renamed the chat do Watermelon Club. Watermelon Club. 942. Invisa simp, I know it's been hours but I can't stop thinking about it. Invisa simp, the legs? The move? The efficiency? The taking charge? Invisa simp, I'd like him to tell me what to do. Hantashiro, I feel like I missed a lot. Hantashiro, there were like 1,000 messages when I got out of my work stud. Sue, 1,042 messages, to be precise. Invisa simp, scroll up to the video. Sue, wow. Sue, maybe I should add that to my Supermove repertoire. It works well with my quirk. Invisa simp, please don't, you're so powerful as is. Hantashiro, Hagakure is right, but also goddamn. Hantashiro, I wanna add that too, except my thighs aren't any good for that, I'm kind of a twig. Invisa simp, incorporate your tape to yank like how Midoriya uses Black Whip. Hantashiro, you know that's not a bad idea. Get Mirko to teach you, Ashido said, way too excitedly. Sorry, I already have one of them, Mirko said, in a light-hearted voice. 11:01 p.m. Koji Koda, did you guys know Midoriya knows sign language? Koji Koda, because we just had a conversation in fluent JSL and I've never felt more seen. Koji Koda renamed themselves to Quietly Simping. F off. Dang hell, the nerd still knows JSL? Simp for brains? You knew that? OFF, my explosions are slowly making me go deaf. I've been learning JSL since I was 7. True. I also know ASL. You know, just in case. Midoriya shrugged. F off. Deku used to take classes with me. Deku simp. You know Bakugu, for someone that goes to bed early, you sure are active on this chat at all hours of the night. F off. Letting burrow into trash like the raccoon you are and die. F off. JSL is why me and the FING Animal Whisperer work so well in stealth mission. Fucker is mute so he knows JSL already. Quietly simping. Selectively, and also because I'm scared of Bakugu so I just do what he tells me, and his plans are pretty good. Deku simp. Asilch fasilch koda elimfo. Deku simp. True. Quite simping. How are you so loud even through chat? Deku simp. It's a talent. Spontaneously combusted. Looks like that's another thing to add to my Midoriya list. Oof. Your F what now? Deku simp. Share what you've got so far. Spontaneously combusted. Thighs, good with kids, scars, determined, big hands, kind, mama's boy, good grades, strong, analytically smart, knows JSL. F, OFF, all this makes me FANG icy hot. Foff, nerd isn't that FANG cool. I'm so offended Kakin. Midoriya squealed. F off nerd, Bakugu said slightly irritated. Deku simp, you gotta add doesn't take sheet. He even stands up to Baku. Tough, die, fucker. Spontaneously combusted. Noted, not sure how I forgot that. Simp for brains, add manly. My bros is hella manly. Spontaneously combusted, added. Quietly simping, he's also attractive. Deku simp, he's no Eichmann, doesn't have the pretty boy face. Deku simp, but those freckles. Deku simp, and them thighs. Deku simp, and his but and those bike shorts. Spontaneously combusted, freckles has been added to the list. But has been left out due to it feeling like a breach of friendship. And that other sheet wasn't? Deku simp, those are all things everyone likes about Mido. None of it super objectifying except thighs, but honestly Salsajif Saj we can afford to objectify that. OFF. Still super FANG weird, but whatever. Official class 2A. 11:11 p.m. Deku, can someone tell me where my closet is? The clothes that are there are not mine. Creati, they are now. Aoyama helped me make your closet more fashionable. Deku. Why? Deku, I mean, I'm flattered and slightly insulted? What? No offense, dude, but your fashion choices are shit, Kaminari said, smiling awkwardly and scratching the back of his head. I'm aware. It's funny to see your reactions in the changing rooms. Wow, that's so rude, Kirishima said, shaking his head. Can't stop twinkling. Your image is everything as a hero. And we've recently seen you in bike shorts, and the girls gave you a makeover, both of which really looked good on you. Deku, really? Though they were a little tight, and I was bribed by Uraraka for the makeover. Kinda embarrassing. Can't stop twinkling, none. You look très magnifique. That's why Yamamo et moi fixed your closet. Deku, thank you I guess? Deku, there are skirts in here too though? I don't look good in skirts. Too rectangular, remember? Creati, that is simply because you've never seen the right skirt. We got skirts that accentuate your figure. Deku, thank you. I used to be a bit of a hikikomori outside of school, so I've never been much invested in fashion, but this looks awesome. I can't wait to test it out. Deku, good night. Momo Yayorozu to Yuga Aoyama. 11:14 p.m. Momo Yayorozu, we are so smart. Yuga Aoyama, a shame that we couldn't burn some of his All Might stuff. Excuse you. Midoriya practically shouted. If you touch that, don't expect to see daylight every again. Okay. Then told you not to touch them. Meanwhile the pro heroes just look done with life. Watermelon Club. 5:10 a.m. Off. Ponytail and twinkly you fuckers. Off. Tell me why Deku came to breakfast in a skirt and a CRP top. Off, and thigh highs. Simp for brains. Bakugo blew up the pan he was holding and Midoriya thought that Bakugo thought he was ugly. Starstruck. And Todoroki thought he was hallucinating and accidentally froze his coffee. Kyokajiru, the real question is why did none of you boys FING tell us that Midoriya is ripped? He's got a certifiable 8-pack. Kyokajiru renamed himself to Screaming. Screaming. ISTG, my heartbeat was audible without my support gear. Deku Simp, so glad I changed the ringtone for this chat. Deku Simp, someone keep Deku there, I just woke up. Deku Simp, wait for me, I wanna see. Screaming, here's a pic. Screaming, img.skirt.jpg. Deku Simp, holy F sheet. I'll make more shorts, Aoyama. The fruit of our efforts. Midoriya asked me for help choosing an outfit this morning, so you're welcome. I'll make more shorts. He's still embarrassed, so don't say anything. Simp for brains. He just put an oversized sweatshirt over the ensemble. I'll make more shorts. Oh goodness. Starstruck. I don't think Deku is aware of the power he holds over this class. What F power? I'm more powerful than him. Screaming. Simp for brains. Bakugo, Mito just asked how your morning run went and you blushed and exploded the rice. Off. The sleeves were over his hands. The am I supposed to do? Deku Simp. Dear Lord, the imagery. Screaming. Bakugo just handed Midoriya a bowl of cereal because the rice is burned. Midoriya smiled. Everyone's dying here. Screaming. NVM, he turned it into an All Might impression. Not cute at all. You, Midoriya said with a pout. I hate him. I even hate him. Spontaneously combusted, that was scarily accurate. That's sort of terrifying. Spontaneously combusted. Side note, iced coffee is rather good. That was a train wreck, Aizawa said as soon as the TV went to the play screen. Sure FNG was, Mirko replied. Thick thighs save lives. St. Louis smash, yelled Midoriya, delivering a roundhouse kick to the face of a flying villain. The villain went limp immediately, and Midoriya grabbed him before he really went free-falling. He lowered himself to the ground, and handed the villain to the police. You're gonna put me out or a job, Kit, complained Rumi as the two continued their patrol. Midoriya shrugged. I think it's the opposite. Ever since you took me on, your popularity boosted. You might beat out Edge Shot for the number 4 spot at the next Hero Awards. Who cares about rankings? I'm a hero, not a celebrity. They're not mutually exclusive, you know. Still annoying. What was that last super move you used, by the way? Definitely not one of mine. St. Louis Smash? I suppose that one, yeah. Well, my super moves may be underdeveloped, but I still have a few, explained Midoriya. That one is called St. Louis Smash. It's a jump with an arched roundhouse. What's it good for? Flying villains, some types of force fields, and villains where you just need a lot of momentum to put them down. Oh, so Luna Fall. Except Luna Fall only works from above. St. Louis Smash works from all angles, even from below. Mirko tapped her chin, contemplating something. She turned to Deku. Can I use it? Wow, taking a move from a student Mirko, Kaminari teased. It looked cool as hell. Of course I would ask. Mirko said in reply. Midoriya blinked. Mirko wanted to know his super move? He was writing that in his hero journal today. Pro Hero Mirko wanted to know about MY super moves. Well, of course. I'm copying your super moves, so it's only right that I share mine as well, he said. Mirko looked around. Her eyes lit up as they landed on something, and she bounded off in that direction, dragging Deku behind her. Oh no. Mirko took one massive leap and suddenly they landed on a field. She let go of Deku and stretched. She cracked her knuckles, then her neck. Oh no. Deku did not like where this was going. Alright, Deku, why don't you show me that super move again? Come at me, she said, raising a brow in challenge. Deku sighed. He was so effed. He launched at the rabbit hero anyway at 20%, trying to stay as high as he could to stay as far away from her legs as possible. He was nearly immediately knocked on his butt, Mirko yawning above him. Boring, Deku, come at me with some real power. Not whatever you use on those villain chumps. Deku bumped up to 45%. He leapt into the air, using float to give him extra height. Releasing it and letting gravity take over, Deku shot down at the hero. St. Louis Smash, yelled, bringing his foot around. As expected, she caught his foot and flung him, so he used Black Whip to right himself. Cheap move, Deku. I thought this'd be a leg-to-leg battle. Do I look like I'm trying to die? Huffed Deku. You'd literally kill me in a leg-on-leg. Mirko shrugged with a grin. One more time, Deku. He sighed and charged again, trying the super move from even ground. St. Louis Smash, he yelled again. Mirko's legs suddenly caught against his. His legs being much weaker than hers, he was kicked to the side, rolling head over foot. He shook his head and stood up. Mirko was grinning maniacally. He was so screwed. Finally got the name, she yelled. She jumped, higher than Deku had earlier, and suddenly she was hurtling toward him. Luna Arco, she cried, delivering a swift kick to his ribs. He felt them crack as her foot made contact. He lay flat on the ground. I think you cracked my ribs again, groaned Midoriya. However used he was to FING up his bones, it still hurt like hell when it happened. No wonder you're fine with broken limbs, Jiro said. Yeah, that and middle school was a good starting point for a high pain tolerance, Midoriya said, shrugging. Mirko offered him a hand up, looking rather pleased with herself. I like that, she said. I feel like jumping that high would strike fear into the hearts of villains. You already do that anyway, Mirko. When Mirko let him go for the night, he changed into one of the outfits Yaoyorozu and Aoyama had put in his closet. He knew his classmates had been acting weird recently, offering to help him train DC Smash, getting invested in his wardrobe, suddenly stuttering around him or activating their quirks. If Midoriya didn't know any better, he'd say his class had collectively developed a crush on him. I mean, Midoriya said. Oh come on, Kirishima said. Why are you so smart? I'm not though. He knew everyone liked the Eichmanns of 1A, with Midoriya having been added to 5 group chats related to them. 1 each for Todoroki, Kaken, Ida, Kaminari, and Kirishima. Midoriya was even semi-active in the chats, gushing over their form or new moves or increased muscle mass and whatnot. Midoriya knew he wasn't an Eichmann. There was no way he'd have a chat like that, although the thought of his friends complimenting him all the time was a nice thought to have. But he still had his suspicions. Why did everyone always seem to know his exploits of the day? At the same time? Why had Yaoyorozu and Aoyama replaced his closet? Why had Kaken been repeatedly blowing up kitchen equipment every time Midoriya was in the room? Why was everyone suddenly invested in his technique and knowledge of martial arts? Why was everyone suddenly aware of his muscles? He sighed. He'd have to test his classmates. He'd already tested Kaken with the skirt and the sweatshirt, knowing that Kaken secretly liked cute things. Opening his phone, he took a picture of his bruised chest and sent it to Todoroki, asking him if he could ice it when he got back. He didn't get a response for a solid couple of minutes. "You like cute things, dude?" Kaminari said. "Shut the F up, dunce," Bakugo said, his voice just above natural. "Oka to Deku-kun." 7:04 p.m. "Oka, this is Todoroki, my phone broke." "Oka, I can totally ice you when you get back." "Oka, this is Uraraka again." "Oka, what did you send to Todoroki?" He caught fire and iced his phone at the same time. It exploded. "I'm sorry, but that looks so fake," Siro said with a laugh. "Yeah, for real," Uraraka said. "I would do way better than my on-screen partner." Well, that answered that question. He sent a picture of his outfit to Yaoyorozu asking if he'd picked a good outfit since he hadn't gotten to ask her in the morning. She answered almost immediately. Momo Yaoyorozu to Izuku Midoriya. 7:05 p.m. "Momo Yaoyorozu, you look amazing." "Momo Yaoyorozu, that oversized cardigan goes really well with those breathes." "Momo Yaoyorozu, but people usually wear tank tops under those types of cardigans so they don't flash somionio spafquio." "Momo Yaoyorozu, Astvich Jeff Mido, this is Mina Sajfok, you look so fng gudkajstfa." "Momo Yaoyorozu, sorry, Mina took my phone, but awesome work." And that told him everything he needed about Yaoyorozu and Ishido. Yaoyorozu would have started with the tank top bit if she hadn't been distracted, since Yaoyorozu was logical like that. The reverse order was less like her, and Ishido was pretty obvious. The third test was the quietest person in 2A. Izuku Midoriya to Koji Koda. 7:07 p.m. "Izuku Midoriya? Koda, will you practice JSL with me? I think I'm rusty." Koji Koda, no. Koji Koda, sorry, I mean you're quite fluent in JSL, I don't think you need practice. Izuku Midoriya, but what if I want to hang out with you? Koji Koda, with me? Izuku Midoriya, yeah. What do you say? Koji Koda, let's hang out this weekend. Izuku Midoriya, awesome, thank you Koda, love. He didn't usually use cutesy emojis, but the situation called for it. Kyokajiru to Izuku Midoriya. 7:09 p.m. "Kyokajo, what did you text Koda? He said you guys made plans and then his face went all red." Izuku Midoriya? I don't know. He did in fact know, and Koda was added to his list. There was one final text. A little out of the box, but if they reacted Midoriya would know he wasn't crazy. Earlier in the day he'd recorded a leg workout, and he sent the video to Shuji, Sato, and Kirishima. "Midoriya, you're really just going for everyone," Todoroki said. Izuku Midoriya renamed chat to Gym Brothers. Gym Brothers. 7:10 p.m. Izuku Midoriya, hey, can you guys help me check my form, angry face? Izuku Midoriya, vid.leg press 500 kg.mp4. Iger Kirishima, wow. Iger Kirishima, Loco's great bro. Meza Shuji, your quads are really defined now, and your form is perfect. Rikido Sato, Demon Midoriya. Rikido Sato, you seriously got ripped. Mezu Shuji, how much are you pressing? Izuku Midoriya, 500 kilos. Considering I can bench press all might, I don't think that's that bad, Midoriya said cheerfully. Excuse me? When were you going to tell us this? Ishido said, jumping up from her place. I wasn't going to tell you? That's so rude, Mido. How dare you, Ishido said dramatically. Mezu Shuji, how much do you weigh? Izuku Midoriya, 74, 75 kilos? Not that much. Mezu Shuji, you're leg pressing more than 6.5 times your weight? Mezu Shuji, I weigh 99 kilos and can leg press 580 kilos, Less than 6.5 times my weight. Mezu Shuji, I think I need a moment. Rikido Sato, Midoriya, you are literally so effing cool. Midoriya smiled. Kirishima rarely made typos, and Shuji was always perfectly eloquent, and Sato wasn't much of a swearer. This proved it. Class 2A had seen his recent growth and increase in muscle, and now they were like how people the secret group chats acted. Maybe he did have a secret group chat. He'd need to explore more. Watermelon Club. 7:06 p.m. Deku Simp. Momo show the chat what Mito did. I'll make more shorts. img.midorioutfit.jpg. Deku Simp. Laxty's literally so fucking cute? Shocked. Yamamo, tell me your ways, how did you acquire this picture? I'll make more shorts. He just sent it to me and asked my opinion. Hantasiro. Is it bad that I want Midoriya in that outfit to hold me down? When and where, baby boy? Midoriya said, looking at Siro with a tilted head. Siro turned a bright shade of red and looked down at his lap. You can't just say that. Oh, I wasn't aware that you had any control in this. Midoriya said, completely milking how much power he knew he had over his classmates. This is not fair, Mito. Siro said, the blush on his face not fading. Is that so? Well, I mean, you can always stop me. Just say the word. Midoriya responded with a wink and a smirk. When were we going to be made aware that Midoriya is like this? Yamada asked Aizawa, who was looking over at the class. You would have found out ages ago if you ever paid attention to any of them, Aizawa replied dryly. Hantasiro renamed themselves Time-Upples. Deku-Simp renamed Time-Upples to Tape-Mupples. Deku-Simp, it's funnier that way, LMFAO. Can't stop looking. Mon Dieu, he looks incroyable. Simp for brains. When he wears soft-looking outfits like that I can forget how ripped he is. Simp for brains, and then I see his shoulder and his chest and wowie. Deku-Simp, he's so hot. Quietly simping. Guys, I made plans with Midoriya to practice JSL, and look at this. Quietly simping. IMG at heartemoticon.jpg. Since when does the nerd use heart emoticons? Class Prez. That is rather out of character. Class Prez, but that's so cute. That's the F problem. Screaming, and I don't even think he realized. I asked him why Koda went red, he had no idea. Starstruck, I don't mean to take over, but a couple minutes ago Todoroki got a text from Deku. Starstruck, Todoroki exploded his phone, but apparently it was Deku's chest. He asked Todoroki to ice him when he gets back. Deku Simp, a pic of his what? Shocked. Please say there's a copy. Spontaneously combusted. Good news is that my phone auto backs up to an extra phone because this happens way too often, so this is my current backup. Spontaneously combusted, and I managed to screenshot it before I totally lost it. Spontaneously combusted, so here's the better news. Spontaneously combusted, img.chess.jpg. Invisa Simp. In other news, I am now attracted to bruises. Tape-Mupples, honestly me too. Gutterhead, that's so fucking weird. Invisa Simp, like you are one to talk. Simp for brains, he's got pecs to rival Bakugas. Shut the F up, shitty hair. Simp for brains, ask Vezuflogel. What are you, Pinky? Why the F you react like that? Simp for brains. Nope, sorry, not you, holy fuck him shut. Midoriya's leg press renamed themselves to Midoriya's leg warm-up. Midoriya's leg warm-up. Midoriya can leg press 500 kilos now. Deku Rush. Look at this FNG video. Deku Rush. vid.legpress 500 kg.mp4. Deku Simp. Alsjeft. Shocked. Stilkadga. Screaming L holy sheet. Tape-Mupples. I have to me hallucinating. Invisa Simp. Ashkfglashful oh my god. Starstruck. That's Deku? Good. Starstruck. Todoroki just blew up his phone again. Simp for brains. So did Bakugu. Simp for brains. Gimme a fucking minute, I explode phones a lot, I got the same sheet peppermint knockoff has. Simp for brains. Sorry, that was Baku bro. Deku Simp, guys? Deku Simp. Do you think Midoriya's onto us? I'll make more shorts. He did send all of these in a really short PRD of time. I'll make more shorts, like he was gauging our reactions as a test. Invisa Simp, official class 2A. 8:30 p.m. Deku, Ida, before you say anything, I'm not MCST. But you are, Ida stated. Well, Midoriya did confirm that he was earlier, but he still didn't need it to be said out loud. Ingenium, that doesn't help your case. Deku, but does anyone have any advice for broken ribs? Charge bolt? A hospital maybe? Deku, but curfew's at 11? Ingenium, Midoriya, if your ribs are actually broken you should see a doctor and not worry about curfew. Deku, well, they might not be broken. Deku, img.crackedribs.jpg. Pinky, Mito asilchvulj you are so ripped. Deku, thanks, Ashido. You look so oblivious here, Azui said. But obviously you're just faking it for your entertainment. I mean, why else? Midoriya said in reply. So are we just meant to forget what just happened? Mirko asked, looking over to Aizawa. Yep. Shudo, they don't seem broken and I did promise to ice it when you get back, but this picture is more zoomed out and it looks way worse than you let on. Deku, well, I taught Mirko a super move and she's got hella leg muscles. Watermelon Club. 8:33 p.m. Deku Simp, he taught Mirko a supermove? Deku Simp, Mirko? Spontaneously combusted. He's incredible. Class Prez, Midoriya is certainly amazing. Invisa Simp, he just keeps getting cooler. Official Class 2A. 8:33 p.m. Uravity, how'd that end up happening? I thought she was teaching you super moves? Deku, I did come up with a few super moves on my own, you know. Deku, that's how she scouted me. One of my super moves was super similar to hers. Deku, she just liked it. We sparred a little and she kicked my butt because she's the number 5 hero. Deku, and now my ribs are cracked. Deku, but I'm alright, see? Deku, img.smile.jpg. Well, ain't that cute, Hagakure said. Watermelon Club. 8:34 p.m. Cult of Midoriya. It's so bright. Simp for brains. Literally the cutest, manliest guy. Tape mupples. I can feel the serotonin rushing through my brain. Deku Simp. He's literally so cute and so CC at the same time. Deku Simp, but. Invisa Simp. His teeth are so straight too. Tape mupples. That's what you're focusing on? Invisa Simp. My parents are dentists. Official Class 2A. 8:35 p.m. Uravity. Well, I'm glad you feel okay, Deku. Deku. I'm so glad I have friends like you guys. Deku. This is why I love you. Deku. Love you guys. Sorry, sent before finishing the sentence. Definitely didn't, Uraraka said. Watermelon Club. 8:35 p.m. Screaming Arn. Deku Simp. Me too. Invisa Simp. I love you. Chasat screenshotting that. Rumi, yelled Midoriya first thing in the morning on Friday, skidding into the kitchen. He held up a box that had 18 written on it. Inside was his hero costume. Well, an altered version of it. What? Said Rumi, taking a long, slow sip of her coffee. My new suit came in, he shouted. Rumi pet a half grin. Nice kid. Took you only what, 5 weeks? She said snarkily. Midoriya blushed. Well, I wasn't really comfortable with it before, he said, shuffling his feet. What changed? Well, he said, scratching the back of his neck. It's kinda embarrassing? Well, spit it out. Okay, so, he said, trying to think of how to word this. Class 2A has a couple of group chats where we send pictures of our classmates to, thirst over? And I just found out that they probably have one for me, since they mentioned my thighs when I landed a work study with you, and they've all been real blushy recently, so I want to mess with them a little. Gold. Midoriya laughed out. Just amazing. Rumi stared at him for a second, before barking out a laugh. She doubled over, pushing out sentences between bursts of laughter. So you're telling me, she wheezed, that your willingness to F with your friends is greater than your general embarrassment? Of course it is. The demon nerd is always up to F with people, Bakugo snorted. Unfortunately, Kirishima said, hanging his head down. Yes. Rumi cackled. She ran to the phone, dialing up a number. Hey, Fumiko, remember that favor I owe you? I can cash it in for your issue tomorrow, she said. Midoriya heard loud squealing, audible even through the phone, before some excited chattering. Rumi nodded a few times, giving simple answers to the person on the other line. She hung up and rounded on Midoriya. Ready for the flashiest part of hero work? She said, grinning maniacally. Midoriya knew that whatever she had in mind, it would be fun, if not totally destructive. He nodded, not quite knowing what he was getting himself into. Midoriya could not quite recall how he had gotten here. All he knew was that he was in his new hero costume, pulled down to his waist, and there were two makeup artists patting brushes all over his face and chest. Apparently, Fumiko, referred to Fumiko Honda, the editor-in-chief of Hero Weekly, the second most popular hero magazine in the country, just trailing behind Hero News. The two were rivals and often mixed up, causing increased animosity between the two. Midoriya personally preferred Hero News, as they tended to focus on the quirk side of heroes and their hero work, whereas Hero Weekly liked to show off figures such as Iwabumi and Midnight, and focused more on the visual aspect of heroes. Midoriya was rethinking that opinion, as he was sitting in a makeup chair for Hero Weekly, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. As for how he got there, Rumi apparently owed Ms. Honda a favor, something about losing a bet and promising to be on the cover at least once in her career. That favor apparently extended to allowing other people on the cover with her, as Midoriya was now going to be featured on the cover of Hero Weekly. Ooh, interesting Mido. I can't wait, Ashido said with pure excitement. Oh, green kid. Mirko said, almost shouting. Yes. Midoriya replied. Feeling up for a photo shoot? Mirko said, smirking. Why not? Are you sure this is a good idea? Midoriya asked nervously. When am I ever not sure, Kit? This is gonna make those extras in your class drool over you. You sound like Kaken, he mumbled, too low for her to hear. I don't know why I have to be shirtless. The costume is already skin-tight, he said, raising his voice. If you'd notice, they're only putting baby powder on your chest so it doesn't chafe later. Rumi responded. You won't be shirtless for the actual shoot, you're still a minor. Oh, that's good, he said faintly. He was already nervous enough in his new suit. It was skin-tight, unlike its earlier, baggier versions, with a jacket over it so he could keep the hood design. It was like Hawk's general costume idea without the breathes. Suddenly he was being pushed onto the set, where a European photographer was grinning widely. In mildly accented Japanese, the photographer was instructing Rumi and Midoriya into different positions, having them back-to-back, then hip-to-hip, then experimenting with various height differentials. One position even had Rumi's thighs around his neck as she clambered onto his shoulders, and he tried extremely hard not to think like Mineta or Kaminari. Some poses he had one for all activated, others were just him with no lightning, some were solo shots for him, others solo shots for Rumi. She was ridiculously good at modeling, another thing she had in common with Kaken, who modeled for his parents on occasion, and some were close-ups of his scars, having been asked to roll his sleeves up. They're not that attractive, he said with a fierce blush. The photographer, who was French, Midoriya had finally decided, some words sounding a lot like how Aoyama spoke, shook his head vigorously. Non, monsieur. I've been photographing heroes for 20 years, scars always boost sales. Many young ladies find them quite appealing, he said. He looked Midoriya up and down. And young men too. Your scars are fine, Midoriya, Todoroki said. Well, I have a lot. Midoriya said, scratching the back of his neck. There's even one on my tricep that takes up most of my skin dash. The photographer gasped and snapped his fingers, and before Midoriya could process their movements, two assistants ripped the arms off of his costume and the jacket, removing his Air Force gloves along with them. Standing in shock, with suddenly bare arms, he heard the photographer kiss the tips of his fingers. Parfait, Monsieur Midoriya, let's get some more shots in. Before the photographer could so much as raise his camera, the ceiling was ripped away, revealing a hulking giant, his height rivaling that of MT ladies. Mirko, where are you? He boomed. In an instant, Midoriya activated Black Whip and nabbed all the set workers he could see, performing a low Manchester smash to give an opening in the side of the building. Trusting Mirko to keep the villain busy, he pushed everyone out of the building, placing them 2 blocks away, where they could be picked up by police and emergency services. He turned and flew back to the carnage, where Mirko was seeming to have some trouble with the villain. Every kick she landed seemed to enrage him, and his rage seemed to increase his size. Seeing that she was about to get stomped on, Midoriya activated Smokescreen and nabbed Mirko to regroup. He heard the villain screaming profanities in the background, but looked at Mirko, who looked like she had broken fingers. She glared at Death. "What was that for? I could have taken him," she growled. Deku sighed. "She was just like Kaken." "I agree with my clone," Midoriya said. He looked down towards Bakugo, who was staring daggers into Midoriya. "No offense, Mirko, but he was kicking your butt," he said none too gently. "We need a plan. One-leg kicks aren't gonna cut it. And the longer we rile him up, the harder he's gonna be to take down." Ro shrugged. "Okay, so 2 legs in one fell swoop. I don't use this move all that often, since I need a ton of height and the element of surprise for it, but if you can get me up high enough, I can drop into him at terminal velocity and him up. Bunnies like me can fall at that speed if we land correctly," she said. Deku nodded. "What about 4 legs? If I do it too, there's a greater chance we'll take him down," Deku said, punching his palm. Mirko nodded. "The more power, the better. Use your smoky sheet and your floaty quirk to get us high enough to get the jump on him. You can think of a name as we go up." Deku grabbed Mirko again and floated up. "He'd need to go pretty high." Mirko muttered something about 450 meters, but the villain had to be added to the height. Floating somewhere high above the skyscrapers, wind whipping around him, he thought of a name. There were only 2 sets of states in the United States that were twin states, so to speak, with a north and south differentiating them. The Carolinas were already used by All Might, which left Deku with. "I got a name," he said. "Oh yeah? What is it?" "Dakota Smash," he said. "Cute. Mine's Luna Twin," replied Mirko. Focusing his power in his legs so as not to become a pancake on the ground, Deku let float and Smokescreen dissipate, leaving the 2 heroes to hurtle through the atmosphere. Deku was glad he wasn't afraid of heights. He grinned gleefully as the ground, and more importantly, the villain's head, were fast approaching. He was snarling, turning his head all over, likely looking for the rabbit hero. "Dakota Smash!" yelled Deku at the same time Mirko yelled out, "Luna Twin!" Their feet landed perfectly on the villain's head, and he was out like a light, the combined force of the 2 heroes knocking him out instantly. In his sleep, he shrunk, and Deku recognized him as the boyfriend of pro-hero Little Lady, a hero with a shrinking quirk. How ironic. After talking with the police, it turned out that Little Lady was meant to be on the cover of Hero Weekly this issue, and her boyfriend was sent into a rage after Mirko had called in to replace him. When he woke up, he apologized profusely to both Ms. Honda and Mirko, and got a stern talking to from Little Lady. He didn't seem like all that bad of a guy, truth be told. Ms. Honda wasn't even mad about it, not pressing charges other than a fine for property damage. The photographer's quirk was apparently a freeze-frame type of quirk, momentarily pausing moments in time. He had managed to capture the exact moment Mirko and Deku had slammed into the boyfriend's head, having frozen time once as they started falling to scramble to the top of a nearby skyscraper, and having frozen time again to capture the shot at the perfect angle. Midoriya could see his thigh muscles rippling in the photograph, and his arms were raised from the free falling, showcasing some of his gnarlier scars on his bare skin. He was grinning, his eyes full of determination. It was one of the coolest photos Midoriya had ever seen. By the end of the day, Midoriya had an advance copy of the magazine, as the cover and an interview of the people on the cover was the last thing to be done for an issue. On the train, he sent a picture to Mina, knowing that if anyone started a secret chat it was her, telling her to add him to the group chat or he'd change back to his original hero costume with onesie and the mesh mask and the bunny ears. The response was swift. Watermelon Club. 7:21 p.m. Deku Simp has added Izuku Midoriya to the chat. "Ah, you got in," Uraraka said, in a sad tone although she was smiling. Deku Simp, now before you guys say anything, he threatened to go back to his OG hero costume if I didn't add him to this chat. Deku Simp, seeing as how that would be a FING travesty, here we are. Izuku Midoriya, I freaking knew you guys had a chat about me. Shocked renamed themselves to Shocked. Shocked. Mina, what did you do? Deku simp. Okay, but look what I got in return. Deku simp. IMG'd at Hero Weekly issue 118 cover.jpg. Shocked. Oh, last Jeskid Midoriya. Shocked. You are on the cover of Hero Weekly? Izuku Midoriya. Yup. Me and Mirko. Spontaneously combusted. Mina? Deku simp. Yes? Spontaneously combusted. Doesn't this app let you see all chats even before you were added to the chat? Deku simp. Oh. Izuku Midoriya. I'm excited to see what you guys have written about me. You're really just like, let's see what my classmates have been thirsting over, Azui said. I mean Midoriya started to say before being cut off by Uraraka. Let's just see what he has to say. Off. Mina Ishido. Deku simp. Oh. OFF. Meet me in front of campus when you get home from your work study. Simp for brains. R.I.P. Mina. Simp for brains. You were the manliest of bros. Deku simp. Kiri, save me please. Izuku Midoriya. Kaken, don't be mean to Mina. Fof nerd. 9:53 p.m. Izuku Midoriya. It took me a while, but I read all your lovely comments. Izuku Midoriya renamed themselves to Thigh Guy. Deku simp renamed Thigh Guy to Thigh God. Thigh God. And can I just say, that was way thirstier than I was expecting. Thigh God. Shoji, Sato, and Tokoyami, I'll practice DC Smash with you this weekend as a thigh workout. And Ojiro, I would love to learn some moves from you. Thigh God. Koda, I'd love to practice Jis-L with you. Kaken isn't a good practice partner. Thigh God. Yayorozu, Aoyama, thank you again for the new closet. Thigh God. I knew Kaken would like the sweatshirt skirt combo. Fnjisake. Invisa simp. Oh my god. Sue, I'm not sure why the chat was a secret for so long. Midoriya is one of the smartest people in class, of course he'd figure it out. Off, what the F do you mean by? I knew Kaken would like, the F, are you talking about? Thigh God. Kaken, I've known you since we were 2. Must I bring up Takeshi Yamamoto? Off, we were literally 3 at the time. Thigh God. Hinata Suzuki? Eo Hayashi? Murdress? Explodo? F off. Why do you remember all of this sheet? Thigh God. They were your extras, and your family pets until there was a pattern all the way to middle school. Simp for brains. Midoriya, bro, please tell us what those 3 people have in common. Tape mupples. And do any of them have similarities to myself, Kiri, Mina, or Kaminari? Probably did to be fair, Midoriya said with a shrug. Off. Deku, I'll give you that even all might figure I won in that contest if you never breathe a word to anyone about anything related to this. Thigh God, sold. Sorry, Kirishima, Zero. It's a one-of-a-kind figurine. 10:45. I'll make the shorts, everyone. My father is a stockholder for Hero Weekly, so we get advanced copies, so look at the cover. I'll make the shorts. IMG'd at midoriyanmirko.jpg. I'll make the shorts, and this spread. I'll make the shorts. IMG'd at manminterview.jpg. Thigh God. Wow, Yairozu. You got a copy so quickly. I'll make the shorts. Excuse me? Or you? Wow, can't even recognize me in my own thirst chat, Midoriya said with fake dramatics. Okay, we weren't really made aware you were in it, Yayorozu said. Screaming. Babe, scroll up. 10:47. I'll make the shorts. Midoriya, I say this with all possible kindness, but what the F? Shocked. Look Jair, you've rubbed off on class mom. Screaming. Shut the F up, Electric Boogaloo. Thigh God. I'm sorry? I guess? I didn't mean to freak you out. I'll make the shorts. Don't be, I'm just, well, incredibly embarrassed. Thigh God. Don't be. I'm in every single secret chat. So obviously I can't be left out of my own. Invisa simp. Midoriya, you read all the messages, right? Thigh God. Yes, I did. Thigh God. Oh, oops. Spontaneously combusted. I thought Midoriya and Bakugu were the only ones. Who else has group chats? Thigh God. Mina, can I tell them? Deku simp. Might as well, why can't anything be secret anymore? First Baku, now Mito, who's next? Thy God. Apparently Todoroki, Kirishima, Kaminari, and Ida? I would say I'm surprised about Ida, but have you seen his calves? Kaminari said. Thy God. For the faces obviously as well general prowess, abs, face, and calves respectively. Class Prez, there's a group chat about my calf muscles? Class Prez, I must ask that the chat be deleted. Why do I care so much in this reality? Ida said. It really just shows that you appreciate me. Starstruck, damn it. I knew this would happen. Class Prez, Uraraka. I am appalled you are a part of this. Shocked, you guys made a GC about me? Shocked, you guys? Shocked, I'm crying on, I'm so honored. Screaming, don't overinflate your ego, pretty boy. Shocked, but you called me pretty so that's still a win. Shocked, but why was I put down for having a pretty face twice? Screaming, because it's your only good quality. Shocked, ouch? Simp for brains, wow. I didn't even know you guys noticed me all that often. Thy God, Kirishima, your hero costume is shirtless. We couldn't ignore your muscles if we tried. Thy God, super manly, but also I enjoy wrestling with you because of it. Thy God, it's why Kakin always want to spar with you in hero clothes too. Off. Deku, you say one more useless thing and I'm blasting your but 2F island. Spontaneously combusted. I don't get why I have a group chat. I'm not a particularly interesting person, and I've got a massive scar on my face. And you look gorgeous, Siro said looking at Todoroki. Thy God, Todoroki, you are the prettiest guy in the entire school. No joke, there was a whole poll and everything, and also the photographer at the shoot today said that scars are popular. Apparently people find them really CC nowadays. OFF, maybe your scars, sheet nerd, candy cane looks like a FNG pokeball. Thy God, did you just call me CC, Kakin? I did learn to read B. Gutterhead, I still don't know why I don't have a GC. Decasimp, get some simps first, great boy. Decasimp, also. Let it be known that this chat is for Mito simping only. No discussions of other Eichmanns here. Thy God. Okay, but consider. Thy God. img.isaquankatsuki first meeting.jpg. Decasimp. Shtslkashkaj Mito don't kill me like that. Tape mupples. The hell Midoriya's cheeks are so FNG round. Decasimp. Baby Baku is so cute. Starstruck. How did that cute little thing turn into whatever the F Bakugu is now? Oh, Bakugu said. I'm effing great. Sure, Uraraka replied. Fuff. Off. Round face, I'm going to murder you. Shocked. I still find it hard to believe sometimes that you two are childhood friends. F off, do you wear the F? Did you get that picture? Thy God, Auntie? Who else? Yeah, I love our weekly calls. Midoriya said. What the hell? She doesn't even call me? Bakugu said. She loves me more Kakin. You know that. Fuff, that fiffigy. Simp for brains, ain't that your mom, bro? F off. Not anymore apparently, I can't trust her for sheet. Yes, I'm stealing your mother now. The end of the work study was quickly approaching, and Midoriya felt like he was missing something. Well, he was still missing the sleeves of his hero costume, the costume makers of the support department refusing to fix it, insisting that it was much better this way, and his arms were too nice to cover up. I mean, they're not wrong, Ishido said laughing. Her hand covered her mouth and muffled her giggles. They also refused on the basis that he seemed to need a new costume every 2 weeks and they just didn't have enough time to care about a second year's costume. Maybe that French photographer was right, people enjoying scars and whatnot. He could always add the sleeves again for the winter costume. But he wasn't genuinely missing something physical. He decided to go on patrol to clear his head. Mirko was already off doing her lone wolf shtick, so Midoriya didn't have anyone to really ask, as his classmates would probably say something like, missing more thigh muscle? Missing out on dating me? Or something like that. Deku thought about it as he wandered the streets of Hiroshima. What was he missing? He had 4 new super moves. Mirko had even used one of his. He'd done rescue missions and fought villains, he'd found out about the Watermelon Club. There just wasn't anything he was missing. Can't believe that there is a separate chat for their simping, Zero said. He looked over to Midoriya, who winked. And yet, something was tickling the back of his brain, rather like danger sense, but he couldn't get a handle on what it was. The actual danger sense tickled his brain, and he whirled around. An adult man and a uniformed high school girl were having an altercation, the man clearly getting too close to the woman and the girl craning her head and flailing in all directions to avoid him. Deku made to run over to stop the man from hurting her, but before he got close, the girl kneed the man in the groin, and as he leaned over in pain, she knocked him on the back of the head. The man crumpled to the ground, and Deku walked up next to the lady. "Deku?" she asked. She recognized him. Well, he had been on the cover of Hero Weekly. "That's me." "That was some impressive work, Mississippi," he said. "Would you like me to take him to the station?" The student nodded. "Yes, please. He's been harassing me for weeks. Self-defense classes just to feel safe, but I didn't expect to actually use them," she said, her voice quiet and rushed from a presumed mix of adrenaline and fear. "You did great," Deku soothed. "And I have to say, you took him down with startling efficiency." "I'm sorry I wasn't here sooner," he said as he hauled the villain onto his shoulder. The girl shrugged. "It's okay. You can't expect heroes to be around all the time. You gotta learn to protect yourself. I'm quirkless as well, even more reason to protect myself." "Ooh, I've never met someone else quirkless," Midoriya said excitedly, his hands shaking in front of his chest. Deku nodded. He'd always been too scared to actually try self-defense, a mixture of not wanting to hurt Kaken and fear of retribution preventing him from taking a class. "You did really well," he said, especially since he was a bigger opponent. "The knees are the strongest part of the body," the student said with a shrug. "In sensitive areas, it can be a one-hit KO." That stopped Deku in his tracks. The annoying itch in his brain finally released. He had to be the dumbest person alive. His knees. He'd been perfecting his super moves for weeks and had never even thought of the knees. "Sounds like that'd be a pain," Aizawa said, rolling his eyes slightly, although he was rather proud that his student had thought of it. Female heroes tended to use them a lot if they had smaller stature or less muscle mass, and the only reason Mirko didn't really use her knees was because she never really needed to. "You know what, miss, I think you've inspired a new super move of mine," he said. The student looked at him in shock. "Seriously?" she said excitedly. "That's so cool. Using my knees to take down opponents. I name my super moves after places in the United States. Do you have a favorite American state or city? So I can always remember you when I use it." "Oh, well, I've always wanted to visit New York," she said. "Are any of your super moves already named after that?" Deku thought about it. Smash, Shoot Style, Air Force, none of them had New York in the title. He said as much to the student, who was practically buzzing. "This is so cool," she said. "A superhero using a move I named." "That would be cool. Imagine getting a civilian to name a move," Uraraka said happily. "Feel free to brag about it to your friends. I'll defend you on social media if they don't believe you," he said with a laugh. Deku noted the blush that tinted her cheeks, and suddenly remembered the Watermelon Club. They approached the police station. "Let's get you a restraining order for this guy," he said. The student smiled brightly. "Yes, please." "Thank you, Deku," she said. Midoriya thought about that interaction a few days later as a villain with rather extendable arms had him locked in a vice-like grip, arms wrapping around his body like a snake. He was pretty immobilized. The villain had gotten the jump on him, having carefully restrained his arms to convince Deku that his reach was only about 7 meters, then wrapping him up when Deku let his guard down, the arms easily reaching 15 meters or so, perhaps able to grow even longer. The villain had been pickpocketing tourists with the help of his arms, until Deku had confronted him, ultimately leading to this situation. Deku sighed. He had to get out of the man's grip without destroying the villain's arms too much, and then also had to restrain a long-distance fighter as a mid-range/close-range fighter. He just had to get close enough to the villain to knee him in his sensitive areas, and then the villain would naturally drop his guard like the creepo had. He noted that the villain's arms were quite warm. He probably had to keep his muscles limber for them to stretch like this. Logically, all Deku had to do was chill the muscles, and they'd probably retract, getting Midoriya closer and closer to the villain. If only he had Todoroki. Or snow. I'd never compare Shudo to snow, Midoriya said dramatically. He fake gasped as he looked over at poor Todoroki with empathy. Sadly, it was nearing the middle of summer, Todoroki was halfway across the country, and it was scorching in Hiroshima. Deku looked around and spotted a rather perfectly placed ice cream shop. Perfect. Just what he needed. Extending a single tendril of black whip, he started engaging the villain in an argument of ethics as he expanded the tendril into the shop, grabbing a few buckets of ice cream. You don't know what it's like. Living in poverty, theft being the only option, the villain was yelling. Deku was sympathetic. Not all villains wanted to be criminals. Still didn't stop it from being illegal though. Theft isn't the answer. There are many ways to make money without resorting to theft. Midoriya yelled back. Oh yeah? Like what? He yelled. You could have been a hero. Your quirk is well suited for hero work. Deku reasoned. Every quirk is suited for heroics. As long as you use it for good, you can be a hero. It was another reason why it was so hard to fight the guy. The quirk wasn't expressly a villainous quirk. Not that Deku liked to categorize quirks like that, but it wasn't a quirk that relied on the injuries of other people to function like stains or togas, and wasn't explicitly harmful to themselves or others, like Dabi's and Shigaraki's quirks. The villain laughed. With what money? UA is a public school, as is are many hero schools. And if you worked hard enough, you could have gotten scholarships. I know people from poor communities trying hard to be heroes. Black WHP was snaking back, and before the villain could say anything else, Deku pressed the cold jugs of ice cream against the man's outstretched arms. With a small snap, the arms started to retract, arms shooting back into his body and hurtling Deku at the villain. New York smash, he yelled, bringing his knee to the man's solar plexus. The villain crumpled, arms fully retracted back into his body. Deku did a once-over of himself. His FNG costume was ruined. The support students were probably going to murder him. Watermelon Club. Back to the group chat. Hagakure squealed out from behind Midoriya. 1:52 p.m. Midoriya's leg warm-up. I don't think I've ever wanted to be a villain quite so much. Midoriya's leg warm-up. vid.stretchavilion takedown.mp4. Midoriya's left warm-up. We even have similar quirks. I can attempt it in training if you want? Midoriya asked. You have to do it do me as well then, Todoroki said in response. Deku simp, achtaskaged kinda glad I'm not a guy. Deku simp, little lower and he woulda lost the ability to have kids. Thy God. That's why I went for the solar plexus. He really wasn't a bad guy, just misguided. Thy God, and I can always spar with you, Shoji. Please don't turn to villainy. Sue, you finally used your knees, Midoriya. I use mine often. Thy God. Yeah, I'm actually a little embarrassed of how long it took me to figure out. Thy God. I literally had to watch someone use self-defense to remember that knees exist. This is literally what went through your head when you FING discovered shoot style, dumbass. Ooh, now I have legs to break, dumb motherfucker. Thy God. Haven't broken my legs yet. Class Prez, I don't have much hope for you, given your masochistic tendencies. Midoriya stuck his tongue out to the side and done the peace sign with his hand. Not me, wrong beach. Thy God, I thought we were past this. Thy God, I'm not angry. Starstruck. Deku, I love you, you kind of are. Thy God, I am. Thy God, this is slander. I'll make more shorts. I do not think it is MSCSM so much as Midoriya just sort of attracts trouble. Thy God, thank you Yaoyorozu. Thy God, sort of, still seems kinda mean. F off. If Deku attracts trouble like he's masochistic. Thy God, I don't do it on purpose, why are you all so mean? Invisa simp, let's just go back to that still of the ripped costume, yeah? Thy God. ISTG if y'all go from roasting me to objectifying me I'm going to leave the chat. Simp for brains, Midoriya. You should definitely change to a costume like mine, with abs like that. Screaming, we can only handle so many sets of abs, Kirishima, and Mina's got the girls covered, so let's stick to you for the boys. Thigh God left the chat. Deku Simp added Izuku Midoriya to the chat. Deku Simp renamed Izuku Midoriya to Thigh God. Deku Simp, don't leave me though. Deku Simp, you are our best source of Deku pics. You don't say, Bakugo said to the screen, tilting his head to the side. Thigh God, gee I wonder why. Thigh God, oh Gigi Mirko's back from her patrol. Thigh God, oh no she's Komi. Thigh God, so this is the chat the little bunny was talking about. Deku Simp, Mirko? Thigh God, duh who else? Deku Simp, Ox holy sheet did you just hijack Mito's phone? Thigh God, I wanted to see who he got over his embarrassment and changed his hero costume to F with. Wow, just expose me then, Midoriya said sarcastically. F? OFF, do you mean Tio tell me F Deku changed his costume Tio get a reaction out of US? F off, fucking BT. Thigh God, you must be Bakugo. Thigh God, yeah he did. And? What are you gonna do about it, Blasty? Whine like a little beach because A's hotter than you. F loaf, even if you're the number 5 hero I'll still kick your butt. F OFF, Bugs Bunny looking butt. Thigh God, you wanna go okay? I'll kick your butt you little beach baby. Simp for brains. Wow it's like watching Bakugo argue with a clone of himself. Foff, stay out of it shitty hair. Simp for brains, it's a group chat. Thigh God, Bakugo you're gonna be my next work-study student and I will destroy the ever-loving sheet out of WhatIf. Now that's something I want to see. Kirishima said laughing. Imagine that. Deku Simp. Bakugo? Deku Simp, I'm using that in the future. Do it and die, Pink Beach. Thigh God, Jeff see why is it so hard to get my phone from her? Thigh God, working with her is like working with a female Kaken. Thigh God, lone wolf bullshit and everything. F off, it's not bullshit if it works. Thigh God, Mirko is reading over my shoulder and she said she couldn't believe Beach Boy had a point. F off, tell the F rabbit that she'll be my F sidekick in the future. Thigh God, she snorted and said, good luck. Thigh God, Kaken, why do you like to antagonize pro-heroes? F off, if they weren't little bitches I wouldn't have to do their job for them. Thigh God, Mirko is laughing now. Thigh God, she must really like you Kaken, she just asked for your contact info. So what you're saying is, we get to see Bakugo and Midoriya together looking like FING gods? Kaminari said. Gutterhead, Hollop gimme Mirko's hashtag #PelzPelzPelz. Thigh God, she said no, she's only taking Bakugo for work studies. Foff, beat that D. Thigh God, I literally did? I'm literally her first ever student? Feo Kaken catch up goddamn. Deku Simp, oh so Midoriya is bold. F off, Izuku Midoriya. Katsuki Bakugo, Midoriya said looking at Bakugo with a creepy smile. Whoops, sorry nerd, Bakugo said, feeling the shivers crawl up his spine. Thigh God, oh sheet. Thigh God, Kaken I'm sorry I promise I didn't mean it, we're totally a wonder duo and we're dead even. Fuff. I'll still be number 1, if ANG watch. Thigh God, of course Kaken. Tape mupples, sometimes I wonder what goes on in their heads when they interact. Tape mupples, and then I remember that I don't want to know. Tape mupples, it's times like these I'm glad to be boring. Watermelon Club. 4:01 p.m. Shocked added Hitoshi Shinso to the chat. So Shinso's in on it now? Jair asked. She looked around the room but didn't receive any answers. Shocked. Shinso, please tell the class what you told me. Hitoshi Shinso? Hitoshi Shinso, TF is this chat? Shocked. You'll see. Hitoshi Shinso. Okay? Hitoshi Shinso, anyway, I'm near Hiroshima for my work study, and I just saw Midoriya carry like 8 small children across the road since the light was broken by a stray quirk and they couldn't cross because of heavy traffic. Invisa Simp, please tell me you have a picture. Hitoshi Shinso, what do I look like, an amateur? Hitoshi Shinso, IMG.CrossingGuard Midoriya, JPG. Spontaneously combusted, currently adding good with kids to the list. Hitoshi Shinso, the dot list? Shocked. It's a long story I'll tell you later. Hitoshi Shinso, okay then, Anyway, was anyone going to tell me that Midoriya is FNG built, or was I supposed to learn that on my own? Deku simp, if you think that's hot, check the images section of the chat. Thy God, Shinso. I didn't know you were in Hiroshima. We could have gotten lunch. Starstruck, weren't you battling that arm villain at lunch? Thy God, did I guess I was? Hitoshi Shinso, holy sheet. Shocked. I know, right? Hitoshi Shinso and Midoriya is in this chat. Don't be so surprised, Shinso clone, Azui said. Thy God, yep. Hitoshi Shinso, none of you find this weird? Deku simp. He gives us most of the material himself. We don't find it weird at this point, tbh. In Visa simp, it was a little weird at first though. Sue, and now Midoriya is just a part of the group. Starstruck, self-love is important too. Yeah, it is, kids. Yamada present mic, I don't remember who I put, LMAO said while punching his fist into the air with a happy smile on his face. Hitoshi Shinso, I guess? 742. Deku simp, so I want everyone to say, thank you Mina. Shocked. Did I mean THX but also why? Deku simp, I am G'd at giantwatermelon.jpg. Deku simp, you're welcome. Found that bad boy on my way home. Deku simp, it's just waiting for Midoriya to smush it. In Visa simp, Isjed that thing is massive OMG. Thy God, I'll do it as soon as I get home. 1101. Spontaneously combusted, please tell me someone has that on video. Hitoshi Shinso, like I said, not an amateur. Hitoshi Shinso, vid.midoriyanwatermelon.mp4. Deku simp, that should win a king Oscar Scotsliff holy sheet. Deku simp, Mito really be the baddest beach out of all of us. In Visa simp, JL Scatful Kajistal Facile Kade Facile Kajaf. Shocked. Axj amazing, I'm so glad I saw that IRL. Can't stop looking, in that skirt no less. Trace Magnifique. Simp for brains, that was manliest thing I've seen all week. F off, you said my new move was the manliest. Simp for brains, that too. F, I guess it was a little impressive. Thy God. Thanks, Kakin. Starstruck, I'm building up my thigh muscle enough to do that just like Deku. Gosh, that was so cool. Sue, I can show you how if you'd like. Starstruck, yes please. Screaming, if anyone can hear my heartbeat, please blame it one Midoriya. Gutterhead, fellas, is it gay to wanna lick watermelon juice off of Midoriya if he's wearing a skirt and looks like a girl? It is not, Uraraka answered. I'm pretty sure everybody likes Deku in some sort of way. Screaming, I don't even wanna grace that with a response. Deku simp, no need to show off your heterosexuality, we understand. Thy God, I think I'm just gonna shower instead of, receiving help. I'll make more shorts, please don't make people uncomfortable, my Netta. Gutterhead, yes Queen Momo. Class Prez, that was quite something Midoriya. I'm very impressed. Midoriya's leg warm-up, that was just so cool. Deku Rush, it would take a lot of sugar for me to get to that point, goddamn. Cult of Midoriya, revelry in the dark. Starstruck, I still have no idea what he means by that. Cult of Midoriya, I think Dark Shadow might actually be crying. Thy God, oh no. I didn't mean to scare him. Cult of Midoriya, she's not scared, it's more like that she's so proud of you. Thy God, well, in that case, thank you Dark Shadow. Thigh Sensei, I can do that with my tail, but oh my God, that was an incredible feat of strength. I'll make more shorts. Midoriya, if that skirt gets stained, I'll make you a new one. Thy God, thank you, Yaoyorozu. Quietly simping, that was amazing Midoriya. You're so cool. Thy God, thanks Koda. Tape Mupples, show us your ways Midoriya. Thy God, work out religiously for 10 months? Clean a beach? That's what I did. Hitoshi Shinso, or work with a UA teacher, they're FING ruthless. Off. Hold the F up, you're the one that cleaned up that F trash dump by our neighborhood? DD they not know? Midoriya questioned. Thy God. Yeah? That was training for the entrance exam. F off. That place was stacked 2 stories high with trash for like 2 kilometers, what the F? Thy God. I'll take that as a compliment. Thank you, Kakin. F off. That wasn't a compliment, you dumb F. Thy God. Nizu looked over at the students and began talking. So we have one more part to get through and then we will continue on with schooling as normal. I hope you have all enjoyed thus far.